Well, hey, what's up and good evening. I hope you guys are ready to have a good time hanging out tonight together. And definitely a big day in the world of Gabby Petito and Brian Laundrie. And I cannot wait to be able to dive into those conversations with you guys. And big question that we've been asking since the beginning is, where is Brian Laundrie? And I'm going to make the case for you today. Brian Laundrie is not in the Carlton Reserve. Do me a favor as you're getting started. Put it in the chat. Where are you watching from? Sunset Lizzie, all the way from Australia. Paul, thank you for tuning in from Atlanta, Georgia. I can't believe it. Every single time we have people from all over the world join. Patricia in Texas. Julie says, what's up, Tyler? I'm in Toronto. Renee, all the way from Pennsylvania. Another from Pennsylvania, Ontario, Canada. Tennessee. Nicole's watching from Pennsylvania. Jen from Alabama. Mark from Clinton, Illinois. Army Mom is watching Starla's watching from North Georgia. Chrissy's watching from Ohio. Beverly's watching from Michigan. Miss Justice is watching from Chicago. And if you haven't done so yet, there's a lot of you guys watching. Can you do me a favor? Would you guys mind hitting the like button on the video as well? That really helps us out. It lets people, sort of the YouTube system, the artificial intelligence that runs YouTube, it lets them know that this is a stream that other people may want to watch. So if you guys don't mind doing that. Emily's watching from Texas. Looks like we have Neil also from Illinois. Bella's watching from New York. Simple Things from Sacramento, California. Judy is in Kentucky. Skylight is in Virginia. Joshua's watching from New Mexico. There's a great little Mexican restaurant in New Mexico called Little Anita's. I don't know if you've been there, but it's so good. Mike from Rushville, Indiana. Thank you for tuning in. New Madrid, Missouri. Great to have you, Misty. I'm from Poplar Bluff, Missouri tonight because I'm in a hotel room. I'm doing some work for my denomination. And so I'm not at home tonight. As you guys can tell, I'm a little worried about the internet. I hope the internet ends up working all right. Tanny's watching from Quebec City, London, United Kingdom. We have Beverly who's in from Maine. Just so good. Thank you guys for tuning in. And like I said, I cannot wait to have the conversation with you guys. And you've done such a great job, I know, filling me in on certain things that have come about, some conversations that come up, and even an old conversation I hope we're able to dive into tonight. I cannot tell you the number of people who has emailed me and sent me a tweet or whatever about a picture that we've debunked long ago. And I think some other YouTuber is like put it out there as if it's the truth about certain photo. And I'm like, we've debunked that so long ago. I cannot believe that we're like making our rounds back to this particular photo. So anyways, just really looking forward to having the conversation with you guys. And if you're a part of the Feller fam, the hashtag Feller fam, we had the ability, YouTube granted us another emoji. And Ali M yesterday made the suggestion that we would have a be humble emoji. So if you guys don't mind checking out the new emojis, and if you're a part of the Feller fam, what do you guys think about that new emoji, the be humble emoji? And that's just a reminder, I think, for us to realize, like, there's a whole lot of this stuff that none of us have figured out. And so we can't talk with authority on certain topics. It's all just speculation. And it's okay to try to form some hypothesis to determine where Brian Laundrie may be at. But just so you know, it's okay to be humble. It's a good thing to be humble. And today, one of the things I want to talk about is some sightings that were happening, multiple sightings of Brian Laundrie from the Bahamas. And so do me a favor, check out this video, and I put it in the poll. Answer the question if you think Brian Laundrie is in the Bahamas.
Laundrie hiding out in the Bahamas. There are reports he may have caught this ferry from Fort Lauderdale. 4 sightings of Laundrie have been reported in Freeport on Grand Bahama Island, says John Walsh, who hosted a Gabby Petito special on Investigation Discovery.
The Freeport, Bahamas tips are very interesting and very credible. There is a water shuttle that goes from Fort Lauderdale to Freeport every day. He could have got on that in Freeport. He could have got on a boat that would take him farther down into the Bahamas or the Turks and Caicos.
Gabby once visited the Bahamas and stayed at the sprawling Atlantis resort on Paradise Island. It's not known if her fiance was with her. Walsh also says there have been reported Brian Laundrie sightings in Mexico.
He could walk across the border naked with his hair on fire and nobody would notice him. I think that's maybe where he's hiding and somebody might be helping him.
Our Lisa Guerrero is in Mexico.
Brian Laundrie's face has been on every newspaper and television screen in America for the last 4 weeks. But here in Mexico, Gabby's fiance is not getting nearly that kind of attention, making it relatively easy for him to blend in. From here, he could make his way down to Costa Rica and other nations in Central America.
But the Laundries attorney is ripping into John Walsh, telling Inside Edition, dusty relics like John Walsh need a tragic situation like this so they can clear the cobwebs off their names and give their publicity-hungry egos some food. And could this be how Brian Laundrie looks today? Internet sleuths fascinated by the case have been circulating photoshopped images showing Laundrie with a full beard and long hair. Meanwhile, after all these weeks turning up nothing, authorities continue to focus their search closer to home, not giving up on that Florida swamp where Laundrie is said to have gone hiking and never returned. Teams with cadaver dogs returned to the swamp today. Gabby Petito's family is in Wyoming and hopes to bring Gabby's ashes home this weekend.
So there you guys have it, a report fresh from Inside Edition with their sort of speculation that Brian Laundrie could possibly be in the Bahamas. And the only reason that I think that's something for us to be thinking about is because whenever I was looking at how do you sort through all of the reports of where somebody's at, if they're true or if they're not true, one of the things that somebody said was if there's multiple reports that sound similar from sources that are varied or very different, then we really need to take an extra count into it. And so whenever we look at what was happening with the reports that were coming out of the Bahamas, the reason that so many people are saying, well, maybe we should take a second look there is because there were 4 separate reports that seemed very similar. And so I would say, I don't know for sure, but it's worth thinking about. It's worth us thinking about and trying to understand if he happens to be in the Bahamas. They're searching today a little extra heavy, a little extra with an extra level of intensity. They're looking today in the Carlton Reserve. And the interesting thing about the Carlton Reserve today is they took cadaver dogs. They were said to believe that there were remains of a human, and they started to search with the cadaver dogs to see if these dogs could figure out if there's any other remains that they were able to found. And so I don't know what remains means. Is that waste of a human as well? Or what, is it old? Like they didn't give much information, and obviously they weren't talking about it. It was the Pasco County sheriff that made the statement that basically said like, hey, they're borrowing our cadaver dog. In addition to that, somebody sent me a statement saying that they were possibly looking for Gabby's phone. And part of the reason that they were doing that, it's not been verified, but they haven't apparently been able to find her phone, or maybe her phone pinged off of a tower at a separate time. And so just very interesting to me, I think, as we digest this and work on it together. And I'd love to hear your thoughts as you guys are wading through this. Lily says, that attorney sounds triggered from John Walsh. Now, that attorney, he didn't hold anything back. Whenever he was talking about John Walsh, he was also, alluding that he could be talking about Dog the Bounty Hunter as well, because he said relics as in multiple. He said dusty relics like John Walsh need a tragic situation like this so they can clear the cobwebs off their names and give their publicity-hungry egos some food. Now, something that I know, Gavis, is that usually whenever people start to talk like that, it's because they're really intimidated. I think the lawyer's starting to be threatened, starting to be intimidated, starting to feel a little, bit of maybe some fear about the road that John Walsh or even Dog the Bounty Hunter's on. Dog was knocking on the door of Cassie. He's in it. So what do you think about that? What do you think the lawyer's tactics is with this statement?
Oh, I think he's starting to feel the pressure. For sure.
Anything else?
Oh, I hope my team is getting close. We've got a couple feet on the ground and we're looking at all kinds of options right now.
Paul says rattled, that he's rattled. By the way, Ali, thank you so much for the super sticker. And I also want to shout out Eleni, who joined the Feller Fam today. Thank you, Eleni, for joining the Feller Fam. It means a lot that you would join us in that way. And Gabby, you're telling me today, like possibly Costa Rica. You guys are thinking like, is he in Costa Rica? What are some indications why you think Brian Laundrie could be in Costa Rica?
Well, Gabby's Instagram, she went there in 2016. We did some deep diving on Bertolino's family and found a connection to a guided tour that's been going on there for the last 5 years. And it's just a sweet spot for those woofer camps and stuff. So if there is a connection, possibly he has access to a building where he could have unfettered access back to Stephen Bertolino and an ability to escape if Bertolino gives him a warning or something, right? So I just don't think the parents just look too calm. They just look like, oh, he's fine. Like he's somewhere completely untouchable. So that's why we're going down that avenue right now.
Tina says, I think the FBI knows whether he is alive or not. They just cannot release that info yet. I think the FBI believes that Brian is alive, Tina. I don't think they know exactly where he's at. That's why they're doing such a big search on it. But thank you for the super chat, by the way. It means
the lawyer says that he's representing Brian Laundrie, not a dead body. So that makes me believe he's alive.
Linda, thank you so much for the comment. You said, I'm so afraid they're not going to catch him. I think a lot of people are feeling that way. Tiffany, thank you for the super chat. You say, when we were in South Carolina this past weekend, there were a lot of cruise ships sitting on bays empty due to COVID. I found that interesting. You know, I thought about that too, because some of these places are, they're actually like ports for cruises. And I learned this about cruise ships because I went on a cruise right before COVID. We went on a cruise to Alaska. A couple in my church were celebrating their 50th wedding anniversary. And so they wanted to bring me, and they brought some other people to celebrate their 50th anniversary to Alaska on a cruise. And so I didn't know much about cruises before then. I had never been on one. And I started to do research about cruises. And those cruise companies and those cruise ships have to be headquartered in other countries, or else they have to follow the minimum labor laws of that country. There's only one cruise ship out of every cruise ship in the whole entire world that's headquartered in the United States, and it's because they don't visit another country. They just stay in Hawaii. So most cruise ships are international cruise ships, which means they fall under a different set of rules and a different set of jurisdiction and rules. So when you're making that statement, it's like, I don't know how. I would assume if they're ported or they're parked or they're camping out in the USA, that, you know, they would be under some level of US laws, but that's not a for sure thing. So it's a good thought to be thinking about that. Justine, thank you so much for the super chat. It means so much to have your guys' support doing this. And, you know, it's hard. Sometimes it's hard to do these things. And even like today, a day like today where I'm traveling and I'm on the road, I'm in a hotel, it's like even more difficult. I bring my whole gear in. I brought my microphone in and travel with that. Again, tomorrow, same setup in a different hotel in a different city. It's like not an easy task, but I just feel like I'm so grateful for the community that's being built here. I wanted to continue to be a good steward of it because I really feel like this is a community that's been a gift from God, not just to me, but to all of us that we're building together. And so I feel a level of responsibility to handle that well. And so that's why I'm doing this, but it's not like, you guys know, when you travel, it's like you don't want to bring your whole setup and try to stream and get on the internet and hope everything works out. And so I'm doing that today because I believe in what's happening here. If you guys don't mind to hit the like button, that'd be a great thing to do. Jenna says you have to have the docs to get on a ship. Well, I think the ships are not working right now. Jenna, Jennifer, thank you so much for the super chat. Kat, thank you for the super sticker. Number one fan. I like that. I could use some number one fans. That's awesome to have that. Thank you so much for doing that. Gavis, I want to talk about it in a bit, but like, let's not go deep in it now, but just give me your first thoughts on this picture from Pooler, Georgia, that we've debunked 100 times on this show. Literally, almost every episode I've had to debunk it. Some YouTuber, I don't even know which one, decides to make a video about it today, and I get at least 50 messages today about this picture in Pooler, Georgia, which we've already debunked. Thank you, Laura, for the super sticker. Thank you for your support. Man, it feels good to have you guys' support. So what do you think about that picture that we've debunked every episode so far?
Yeah, we started having that come through, and we slammed it pretty quickly at about 7 o'clock this morning. So it's just, yeah, no, I mean, it's an honest mistake, I want to just say. I hope it's not clickbait material being put out by someone, maybe just an accident. But if it is done on purpose, I don't think we should go to that source ever again. It's just way too far. Obviously, it's 32 hours to travel from Spread Creek to that site and 32 hours back. And it
don't make sense. We'll get into some of the logistics of it, but just like for me, the bigger issue, it's like we have guys on the channel, the Feller fam. Listen, we have a major problem we're going to have to sort out. That's us making sure we're not diving into fake news and things that are clearly not even possible and banking on that. And it's not, I don't want to talk in depth about this quite yet, because I do like what you're saying, Gavis. I want to sort of maybe put the map up and just walk through again the timeline around those dates and the logistics of it. But beyond that, people need to start being careful about who they're listening to and why they're listening to them. Listen, what's happened is people are trying to get clicks off of this. They're trying to get traffic. They're trying to, do whatever they can to get their minute of fame or like, I guess, make some money on it or whatever. And I'll say this, like, from my perspective, when I started doing this channel, there was no intention ever of trying to build it out into this thing. I really feel like it was from the Lord. I feel like this is an assignment from the Lord that he's given me for this time and season that we're in. Gavis feels a calling over this. I've donated a ton of money to the Gabby Family Foundation. Neither of us are in this because we're trying to do what these other YouTubers are doing. I'm trying to be a good steward of a gift that I feel like the Lord's given and get answers.
I'm just trying to climb out of the rabbit hole I fell in, and I want to get out. I want to make sure we catch this guy.
Yeah. Hi, Tyler. Would you say hi to my mother-in-law, Bev? We're in Sydney, Australia. Sending our love to Gabby's family. Absolutely. What's up, Bev? Thanks for tuning in. Thank you for tuning in. And just excited that people from around the world are watching. But my point is, I know sometimes we say some stuff that's not anchored completely in fact, but those are more future focused stuff that we're trying to build a hypothesis around. When we look at the past, we're always nailing it down to things that we know for sure. Is there confirmation from the Mary Piglet, for example? All right, we can say that. That's how I've been approaching all of this, okay? And so when you guys think about how you want to perceive what's going on towards the future, do me a favor, okay? And make sure you're not just getting sucked into somebody who's using you for their own personal means. That is the saddest way I feel like people are approaching this. So that's all I have to say about that for now. I want to play this video too about an active search for Laundrie with the cadaver dog, and I want to get your thoughts on that, Gavis.
We're getting right here in Florida. This is an active search that now continues in the Brian Laundrie search. Take a look right here of officials there with a dog continuing to search the Carlton Reserve right now. After several quiet days at this reserve, the area that's been at the center of the search for Brian Laundrie, activity was spotted again and is happening right now from Skyfox aerials showcasing this as it was a busy week here in the Gabby Petito investigation. Obviously, we heard the autopsy results earlier this week. We still have the search that continues right now for Brian Laundrie to try to find him. And this has now been going on for a month here, this whole Gabby Petito investigation that we've been bringing you and giving you these updates in real time right here. We have 2 units from the Pasco County Sheriff's Office among the law enforcement units seen at the reserve. The public information manager for the Sheriff's Office confirmed 2 canine units, a human remains detection unit, and a canine trainer on scene to help the Northport Police Department, the Sarasota County Sheriff's Office, and of course, the FBI. According to records, it's not the first time that they've all been called to assist. And right now, we just wanted to give you that update in real time that is happening there in Florida that continues right now for Brian Laundrie. A couple of weeks ago, we did see the father of Brian Laundrie aid in the search to no avail.
So what was your just thoughts when you saw that today? I mean, the cadaver dogs being brought out to the Carlton Reserve.
Yeah, I don't know if that was actually a cadaver dog or just one of the dogs that goes after humans. So the only thing I can think of is that Flickr video that came out last night or yesterday about the heat signature that they saw. Maybe they wanted to go check that out. But for them to be sending dogs in here after having gone through it thoroughly, however many times they have, I don't know if they're just trying to find a way to waste money or not. I don't know. I have no explanation for it. I really can't come up with anything.
Blake says, mark my words, Brian Laundrie is dead. Someone would have seen him by now. So, all right. Well, we're marking your words, Blake. Thank you for the super chat. By the way, Gavis, the police department confirmed that it was cadaver dogs.
Oh, okay. All right.
So
yeah, I don't know. Maybe someone died in there and the dogs hit on it.
I was having a problem with the stream today for some reason. It wasn't showing up in the news feed. I don't know what was going on. And so there's less people on. I think that has something to do with it. So if you guys don't mind, if you can hit that like button, that really helps us out. Will help us out today. For some reason, it wasn't showing up in the search. I don't know what's going on. I know that there's other YouTubers that are upset about this channel and keep trying to like do things to block us from having any success. So I hate when they do that kind of stuff. But if you guys don't mind, and they're doing fake news, most of them anyways, it's so ridiculous. They're doing fake news and trying to block my channel from having success. I would never do that to any of them. And even if I don't like them, if they're doing things that are respectful or have a good piece of information, I always go back and credit them. So I don't understand why people do that. But I guess it's part of the game people play. It's not the world I live in. That's not how I operate my life. Sarah Trimper, thank you so much for the super chat. You say, just ace for our precious Gabby and family. What does that mean? Gavis, what do you think that means? Just ace for our precious?
I don't know. Maybe Sarah's a really good tennis player.
I think you might have miswrote something. Sarah, maybe you mean just peace for precious Gabby and family. John Mikowski, thank you so much for the super chat. You guys are amazing. I look forward to the channel all day long. I support you guys 100%. Thumbs up. Great work, Jen B. Thank you, Jen.
Yeah, we're working hard. My wolf pack is chasing everything that you can think of. So.
Oh, not ace ache. Yeah, I just ache for Gabby's family too. I think that's one of the things that in my heart, man, when I think about the Petito Schmidt family,
oh,
how heartbreaking this is.
Do you know what I was thinking of today? They can't even put her date of death on there now.
Yeah.
Like
approximate within a week span.
Gosh, can you imagine? Oh, getting angry.
Steppy says, why have we not heard anything about her grandpa?
Yeah, we were trying to dig into that timeline or family tree today and figure out exactly which grandparent is Stan, and I think it's Nicole's dad on that side of things. But we couldn't confirm that or deny that. We didn't get to it. We got preoccupied with Costa Rica and a whole bunch of locations in New York connected to the lawyer. Whereas under the assumption that lawyer has to have unfettered access to Brian in order to build any sort of a case. So we had people dig up like 30 locations. And I haven't heard back from Chan, but Chan literally went out in New York today and went to every one of those locations. So hope he gets home safe, but I haven't seen him for almost 7 hours now. So
I'm going to ask that question. Is Steven Bertolino hiding Brian Laundrie? And I mean, that's what it sounds like you're saying, Gavis, if and this is a theory, it's hypothetical, it's speculation, whatever word you want to use.
It just seems logical, because in order to build any sort of a defense, he's got to be able to pick apart anything the prosecution throws at him. Like, Gabby's neck was broken. Okay, well, that could have been a cougar attack. Maybe not a bear, but a cougar or something, right? So that's why I say it's important to look at what this guy might try to throw at the as the defense.
Yeah. I mean, I think you're exactly right. Clara D, thank you so much for the super chat. There's just so much to do this. Any past photographs of Brian's parents with Gabby's parents? I wonder that too, but I know that in one of the interviews, Gabby's parents said they had spent time with Brian's parents at some point.
I'm sure they have at some point, right? Because they all grew up in the New York area. They dated when she was in in Canada it's 10 and 11. I don't know what you guys call it, sophomore or whatever.
Yeah. Sophomore, junior.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Maureen says, well, they met only once. Okay, that makes sense. Maybe Gabby's moving into their house or something. They're helping. Somebody says a lawyer would lose his license. I don't know if he's doing it in a way that would cause him to do that. Like,
I'm hoping. I hope all of them go down at the same time.
What's your thoughts on Stan Anderson? I know we talked briefly about that yesterday, but
we had a lot of arguments about that today, and I just want to kind of leave it until we have more evidence of when exactly those texts were sent.
So like right now, it's just not good to say until we know, like, for sure.
Exactly. So there's lots of ways to interpret this. So I'd rather not put anything forward on it yet until we have more information.
Sylvia says, sorry, I was one of the many that sent you that picture. I thought it was real. Sorry. It's okay, Sylvia. I'm not frustrated at the people who sent it to me at all. I'm frustrated at the creators who know in their heart that it's fake and then continue to do it for clicks.
Or didn't put in enough research to determine that it must have been fake.
I think this guy knew what he was doing personally this time. Whiskey de Don. I think the Brian and his parents purposely left the Mustang at the reserve to throw the feds off the trail while sending Brian in another direction. I've been saying this from the beginning. That's what I think. Even if Brian drove it to the reserve himself, I think they had a secondary plan. I don't know if it was his parents or who. I'm just saying I think that there was a plan in place for him to drive it to the reserve and leave it there and go somewhere else as a way to throw off. When I heard somebody from the Northport Police talking about this, and they were making the statement that somebody sort of like they had good intel or somebody had eyes on him as he went into the Carlton Reserve. And so that made me feel like, okay, because they said they were watching him. And so it's like, I think he actually drove the Mustang to the reserve. I think maybe he exited it in another location, or like, I think there was something going on there that was more than meets the eye. Some people think I have some of my friends, like in my small group from church, one of my friends, Nick, he texted me and he's like, that boy got swallowed by an alligator. That's what he said. But he's not up to speed on the case in the ways that we are, but he just thought, like, why they keep looking in the Carlton Reserve? Like, there's no way that he's alive. So it's definitely
it was a good strategy that was planned out for sure.
Yeah, I mean, and Kathy says this. Well, he's had this planned out, and so the family could have been putting food in different spots and probably money, and all he really needed was one. All he really needed was one spot. Honestly.
Yeah. Well, the lawyer still needs to talk to him in an unfettered manner. So,
what percentage of likelihood do you think, Gavis, and people in the chat, I want to see your answers. What percentage of likelihood would it be that Brian's in the Carlton Reserve? Like, just from your heart, what do you think it is?
Less than 1%, because I don't want to ever say 100 or 0.
Yeah, you learned that lesson before, right?
I did learn that lesson.
What about Carson? 1%. Most people 1%. A lot of people 0%. Woodster, Woodster with the big one, 5%. It's pretty bad when it's like Grandma Patty saying no, 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 no. Lauren, 13%. Janet says this, he definitely isn't in Florida. I would be concentrating more on South Carolina. There's just a feeling that I get every time I think about the case. So you're thinking Appalachian Trail type situation. His parents do not seem one bit pleased. If they had a single thought he was dead, when they'd be upset. I wondered that too. Like, if his parents were acting more upset, then I would have a much bigger inclination, wouldn't you? Like,
of course.
If they were acting more upset, I would just be a little more concerned. But like, I don't know. I'm having a hard time with all of it, you know?
I think everybody in the world is having a hard time with this one.
Jenna says getting him money to be away for a long time would be hard. The amounts would show in bank accounts. Yeah, he's going to have to be doing a cash-based only system. And he could have had a lump sum of cash from his parents. He could be living off that $1,000 that came, you know, or the attorneys found a way to sneak it in there somehow. Joshua says they're looking for him in the Carlton Reserve due to the second phone or Google Watch pinged over there. So that's what people were emailing me today, Gavis, saying like Gabby's phone had a ping that went off on like 30 into the month, beginning of this month type thing, maybe the 1st of October. Or
I think the affidavit stated that her phone wasn't ever active since the 30th of August. So I'm not sure how you ping a dead phone.
That's why people are coming out saying that. So I don't know. Americana says this, when I hiked the Appalachian Trail or Appalachian, when I hiked the trail, I would pay someone to drive me 20 miles ahead of my starting point where I would bury my prepaid food. That makes sense. That's a good, I don't know if he had time. He had maybe time, but he would have to do it himself. Lovely SH, thank you so much for joining the Feller fam. You join a great group of people. By the way, people in the Feller fam, if you're the producer level, investor level, or dreamer level, I'm working together. I'm putting a time where we can do a private live stream. And so in our membership today, I wrote a question saying when would work for you. And I know not everybody, there's no way we can pick a time where we can, everybody who's at that level, do a stream together. But if you guys don't mind answering that tomorrow or something so we can get on. America says, can you touch on what you said earlier about channels trying to have you blocked? Well, I think there's some channels that feel threatened by how fast this channel has grown. And really, like, we're not trying to do anything to grow the channel. We're just being true to what's happening. Every time Gavis and I get off, we're like, was that a good call? Did we stick to the facts? Are we just doing what we're supposed to be doing? And I think like it's encroaching in on some other people's stuff. And it like, there's just been some things that are abnormal. As an avid YouTube user, it's just abnormal. And it feels like they're trying to get my channel, some bad things happening to my channel, which is just.
Thank you for the love, Kathy. I saw that comment. Appreciate that.
Charlene, thank you so much for the super chat. Tabitha True says, I think the lawyers are making so many statements as a way to bill the parents to use that money for Brian to be somewhere safe where they can talk.
I think the lawyers got to start being a little more careful because he's going to get slapped if he doesn't play his cards right here.
He's got to be careful. He's for sure got to be careful. And you know, the Bible teaches that pride comes before the fall, and I feel like some of the statements, for example, he's making today about John Walsh, the stuff he said about Dog the Bounty Hunter, don't you feel like it's a prideful response?
I think the pressure's coming, and if they start putting the pressure on his family in New York, like they are with the Laundries right now, I think that's gonna be a real big wake-up call for him. So we'll see.
It's just like we got to be careful, guys. That's why for Feller fam we have a chat today.
Burning right now. Things that we see that we look at. That's what we want to look for.
I didn't mean to have the audio playing on that. So why for the Feller fam today, we have that new emoji today that says, be humble. Ali M, thank you for upgrading. I saw you upgrade, and you're the reason why we have that be humble emoji, because you're the one who came up with that. Tina's asking this question. Did you guys ever find out if the lawyer was able to practice in Florida? Somebody sent me an email that said he wasn't licensed to practice in Florida. Plus, we had that guy who called in the other day who said that as well. So I'm sure there's a way to research it deeper than just going off of what people say on a call when they email me, but I haven't thought too much about it. So Kathy, thank you for joining the Feller fam today. Excited about that. It means a whole lot.
When we talked about that today, we kind of just, it depends on where the charges are laid, if they're federal or if it's going to be Wyoming. And then, I mean, there's nothing that says the lawyer has to represent him in Florida or anything like that. So, I mean, it's a little bit of semantics, and yeah.
I think too, like, thank you, Neil, for upgrading your membership. I think too, like, he could be giving them good counsel and advice as their longtime lawyer. And then, like, when it comes to trial, you want somebody who's a trial expert lawyer, and you'll have a team of lawyers and counsels. And I think at this point, this has so much publicity. There's lawyers all over the place that would be more than willing to take on a high profile case. We see that all the time when cases where people who are trying to make a name for themselves in the legal world will take on an O.J. Simpson, a Stormy Daniels, or whoever as a way to build their own publicity. Sometimes they end up in jail, as in the case of Michael Avenatti. Janet says this, does Brian know any other languages? Could we find out?
I didn't find out if he had Spanish or French or whatever. No.
It's not that hard, I don't think, either, to learn a language once you're immersed in the culture. I find myself picking up Spanish really fast whenever I'm in Honduras. I find myself, picking up Cebuano really fast when I'm in the Philippines. So, especially Spanish is like a bit of an easy language for English speakers to pick up once they're immersed in the culture.
I'm pretty sure I'd starve to death anywhere that speaks Spanish.
You would starve to death? You don't think you could pick it up?
No, I tried.
Oh, I think I could pick it up.
Hola, ¿cómo estás?
The difference between a lawyer and attorney: lawyers take pleas, attorneys go to trial. Okay, I didn't know that, but I did look up one time what the difference was between the two, and I thought one meant you've passed the bar, and the other meant you've passed school but haven't passed the bar yet. Elizabeth says, I think there may be plenty of secrets in the closets, but I know Gabby is the victim. Have you looked into Brian's parents plenty? Well, that's the thing I've been saying. Like, we need to look into Brian's mom. We need to be looking into all the extended family on both sides of the situation, because there's some big clue pieces out there for us to figure out. Harry Styles, or H Styles. Sorry, whenever I see it, I automatically think of Harry Styles. H Styles, with the Harry Styles picture. The attorney can file a special order to appear in another jurisdiction. I didn't know that. I don't deal much with attorneys, so
that makes sense. Yeah, until anything starts to be handed out, like a warrant for murder or something like that, like, the lawyer doesn't really have to play any cards yet. So
yeah, absolutely. And by the way, Harry Styles, thank you so much for the super chat. Can't believe we have a member of One Direction. Have you done any research yourself? Copious amounts, more than you'll know. I've done research myself. Have you done any research yourself?
I can attest to that. We send stuff back and forth all day, guys. So
yes, I sent you how many things today? So it's funny. Have you done any research? Have I not done research? Wendy, I think if the lawyer is a business real estate lawyer, he can represent if the business was in another state. Can he? I think he just is representing this family, and they don't have to have a lawyer to be making statements to the media like they're doing. So the family's just deferring to them. It's not like he's actually doing things. Like, they could have a PR person, for example, who's making statements to the media on their behalf. It doesn't have to be an attorney. They're just choosing to use an attorney. There's not much legal stuff that's happening. And I think he's advising them, not at a state level. So CK, thank you so much for the super chat. You say this: do we know if the vehicle was moved before they started tracking him with dogs? Normally, you start at the point last known and use tracking trailing canines. If he was there, the dogs would know. So the vehicle was moved because after the vehicle had been there for several days, the family then went and got the vehicle, moved it back to their house. And Gavis, did they report Brian as a missing person after the vehicle was already back home? I believe that's the sequence of events. So the vehicle was there. They slap an abandoned vehicle sticker on the vehicle. Brian's family goes to the reserve, gets the Mustang, drives it back home. They report him missing. And so the vehicle was already removed from the reserve by the time they began the search. When they did start the search, they began the search at the entry point of where Brian was at, and they shut off the reserve completely to the public. And it was 16 different law enforcement, which was headed up by the Northport Police in the beginning, assisted by the FBI and 15 other agencies, 16 agencies total, working together through the 25,000-acre reserve. Once we learned more and more about this information, then the FBI took over the search, and they pulled their resources back from the Carlton Reserve. So this is really like the second time that we are seeing them go back into the reserve at this level since the FBI took over. One of the other times was whenever they brought in Christopher Laundrie, and he was also in there. And then today with the Cadave Dogs is another time. And so that's why we're sort of like going back to the Carlton Reserve. That's why I put the name of the video. He is not in the Carlton Reserve, because none of us really think that he's in the Carlton Reserve.
Is that near you?
The Carlton Reserve?
No, that car that's...
Yeah, welcome to... I'm like usually in a nice, peaceful place, and I'm in the middle of the city, so somebody's revving up their car. Tabitha says the parents reported him missing 2 days after the car. They got on the 15th. Thank you for that, Tabitha. Imcon Black says if Brian Laundrie killed in Utah first, federal land second, whose jurisdiction wins? Think death penalty. Could he spend 50 years in Utah first? So I think federal trumps what would happen at the state, and they would be concurrent anyways. So he would end up with lots of things happening.
Definitely. Yep.
If Brian Laundrie Bertolino's biological son, is Brian Laundrie Stephen Bertolino's son? I don't think so. I saw a picture today of, somebody emailed it to me today, of Stephen Bertolino and Brian Laundrie. Or no, excuse me, Stephen Bertolino and Bertolino's son. And to me, they didn't look super alike, but maybe somewhat alike. Brian covets that which he cannot have. What do you think, Imcon? Or what do you think, Gavis, about Imcon's questions and thoughts?
That's one of the ways to track Brian is, what does he covet? I think he covets the absolute no plastic, no technology lifestyle that he could find on a woofer host in the middle of nowhere. Belize, yep. Honduras, Costa Rica. That's why we're looking at that lead right now.
I think the woofer thing makes a ton of sense, especially if they can get in. If he can get in one that, like I said, is guarded. If it's in a third world country, they have guards, and whatever the premium price that he'd have to pay for them to keep their mouths shut. If he
just the pure volume of them too, right? So if you go to Portland, Oregon, there's probably like 30 within 20 miles of the outer limits of Portland, and you get the same exact density down in the Costa Rica, Belize, all that area down there as well. So if he didn't like one, he could move. If he's getting suspicious of somebody, he could move, go to find another one that's got less technology, or less cows, less meat, whatever. Pick and choose.
Janet Lee says that, and we're not saying he's at the woofer thing. The reason why people, including Gavis and myself, have suggested that is because that was their plan at the end of the road trip, was to go work on one of these farms. And so
But that's also the lifestyle that he would covet, that he wants to live like that for the rest of his life.
We know he's into that sort of lifestyle. Janet says, just my thoughts. I think Brian had a temper and Gabby with anxiety. It was just a bad mix. It's a tragic mix, Janet. You're exactly right. It's why one of the things we keep saying like this whole time is like, if you're in a toxic situation, in a toxic relationship, you need to get out of it. You need to get out of it. I have somebody in my family that is a 18-year-old and they're in a toxic situation. I'm trying to help them figure out how to get out of it. And then they're living together. It's like it's a bad situation. Please pull up the warrant and read number 2 about the safety of other people and community. I believe the feds let something slip there. Safety wouldn't be an issue for credit card fraud.
Mm-hmm. Interesting.
Okay, I'll go see if I can pull that warrant up. What article did it say?
I'm not sure. I haven't delved too much into the legal side of things.
Boom, boom. Okay, search warrant. I assume she's talking about the arrest warrant, right?
Yeah, the one for the credit card fraud.
Okay, Brian Laundrie arrest warrant. Pulling it up, pulling it up, pulling it up.
Do you want to fire that to me after you're done too?
I can't find out what she's saying. It's just like there's only one thing. It just says like Brian Christopher Laundrie indictment. It doesn't have the information that I'm wanting, so
yeah,
she needs to send that to me, but I'll look it up. It's hard for me to look stuff up that I don't have saved while I'm also running the stream, you know?
Yeah.
Avery, can you email that to me? And I want to look at what you're saying. Shannon says this, who saw Brian enter the reserve and where was it reported? So a couple of things happening here, Shannon. One thing was the Northport police said that they were surveilling Brian at the time that he went into the reserve. So there was a police officer that did an interview that alluded to the fact that they saw him go into the reserve. Where was it reported? I can't remember. I think it was on News Nation. Who saw Brian into the reserve and where was it reported? It was the spokesperson for the Northport police who was alluding to the fact that they saw him enter there. And it wasn't it wasn't in that snippet that Brian Enton put up. It was a separate thing. It wasn't included in that snippet. But he was like, yeah, essentially we thought he was there. That's why we're spending energy there. So I feel like they're embarrassed. That's the pickup I got.
Yeah, exactly. Oh, I saw somebody ask about this stuff that we debunked earlier. You wanted us to explain. Yeah, the stuff that was found today in Polar it's just not possible.
I've been debunking that since August 28th.
Yeah. Well, it's the problem is we have to debunk half the stuff, and some of the stuff we actually get good tips, and then we have to deep dive every tip that we get to make sure that it's actually true.
Kaylee says, if Brian is found dead, does that mean we never find out what happened to Gabby since there won't be a trial? Joshua, thank you for becoming a member of the Feller fam. It means a lot.
Well, the FBI is holding a lot of information that we don't have right now. So I wouldn't be totally deflated that if Brian is found dead, that we're not going to find out a lot more. We still don't have the autopsy for Gab. We still don't have a whole bunch of stuff. The cell phone times on the 27th and the 30th. So there's a lot of information that's still going to come out whether Brian's found alive or dead.
Okay, I'm going to just, I hate having to do this, Gavis. I'm going to just walk through this silly situation in Pooler. I commented on Grizzly's thing today. I'm like, I thank you for covering this. I'm going to have to cover it tonight too, based off of.
Yeah, I didn't even see that she had that done until someone made me aware of it later on. But I was like, oh yeah, Good on her.
Pooler police searching for suspect accused of fraudulent credit card purchase. All right, first glance, look at him. First glance, you look at him, you're like, all right, maybe that's possibly Brian. Just first glance. However, if I look at him, just me personally, if I look at him, even from the elbow up, it doesn't even look like him at all. In this picture right here, that does not look like him at all to me. Like, no offense to people who've thought that, but it's like that doesn't even resemble him other than a scrawny guy. Okay. Then people are like, well, look at his flip flops. Look at how he's standing. Is he wearing an Apple Watch? Is that Gabby's Apple Watch? Now let's read what they're saying. Pooler police are searching for a man they say made a fraudulent credit card purchase at a gas station. The Pooler Police Department said the transaction occurred at Shell gas station. The department's Facebook page was flooded with comments saying that it resembled Brian Laundrie. And they say, while we understand and see the resemblance, we do not believe this is Brian Laundrie. In other words, the same Brian. The card in question was taken prior to August 28th from a home in Pooler. Now we know this, Gavis, as a fact, on August 27th, which would have been prior to August 28th. Where was Brian Laundrie? He was at the Mary Piglet in Jackson.
At 1 to 2 o'clock. So, yeah.
All right. So he was here at the Mary Piglet. It always confuses me that it's a Mexican grill. And they're saying that somehow on this same day, people are trying to make this case, that on this same day, when we know a little bit later, Red, White, and Bethune saw his car, and almost every person in this chat will agree that that car that was seen on Red, White, and Bethune, that van that was seen on Red, White, and Bethune had... Thank you, Avery, for the email. I see your super chat. Thank you. I'll check it out in just a second. Almost every person will agree that in the Red, White, and Bethune video that we're watching, that back door closes on the van. Almost every person will say, well, Brian was in the back of that car. His sandals are out front. So if his flip-flops are laying on the ground on August 27th, how is he wearing those same flip-flops on August 27th in Pooler, Georgia, where he's still in a debit card to use it at 11 a.m. the next day? And it's a 22-hour drive.
32.
It's a 32-hour drive. There's not an airport direct flight from Jackson Hole, Wyoming to Pooler, Georgia. All right.
Yeah, and that guy's calves are about half the size of Brian's, and he's probably about 6 inches taller than Brian. There's a massive list of things we could go on and on about.
I'm not trying to be mean to people who thought it was true, because they actually thought it was true, but it's just literally impossible to be him based on what we know is true. It's literally impossible. And besides that, so he went from Jackson Hole all the way to Pooler, Georgia, then all the way back to Jackson Hole, and then drove back through, because I know as a fact he was at Benton, Illinois, Casey's General Store on August 31st. I know that as a fact. I confirmed that. And that's the route he would have taken to get to Northport, Florida. He would have drove through Benton, Illinois. All right. See where that star's at on the map, south of St. Louis? That's where Benton, Illinois is at. He would have stopped at Benton, Illinois on the way home on the 31st. So you're telling me on the 27th, he went from the Mary Piglet, and then he went from the Mary Piglet on the same day to Pooler, Georgia, still a debit card, use it the next day, to the next day, go back to Jackson Hole, Wyoming, just to steal Gabby's debit card and then drive home? I don't think so. That doesn't make any sense to me. And the physical characteristics don't line up either. Charlene, thank you for the super chat. You say, I've lived in North Carolina all my life, and I didn't know that California, North Carolina was in North Carolina, and it's 38 miles from where I live, and the Appalachian Trail is 38 miles from me. Very interesting facts for you. 38 miles in each direction. 38 miles to the Appalachian Trail. If I lived in that area, I would be doing some real life sleuthing for sure. Gavis.
Yes, sir.
I just have a hard time. Like, I can't. I'm going to just put it in the chat.
Oh, no. You've wasted enough time on this already. Let's move on. Let's do some real stuff.
I want to be able to. I want to put a video out tomorrow where it combats this possibly. So I want to talk about it for just another second. I'm going to put a poll and say, do you think it was Brian in Pooler, Georgia? And please answer the question. Do you think it was Brian in Pooler, Georgia? Build a case for me of how it could even be possible. The only way it could be possible is like if he had private airfare. That's it.
It'd be like teleporter, transporter technology. That's the only way.
If he teleported.
Yeah, maybe. That's why he gets the 1%.
And I listen, I feel sorry. I feel sorry that people were duped into thinking that it was possible. It's a 10-hour flight somebody's sending me. And
well, there's been so many sightings of Brian, you know, all over the place. Appalachian Trail, the one in New Bern. I mean, I think it's an honest mistake in some situations, but in other situations where it's deliberate, it's just filthy.
like, I just,
It's okay. It's all right. We
It's
got other stuff.
it's just one of those things for me that it's like, guys, be careful about what you are allowing in. That was on August 28th is when they're saying that picture was from. August 28th. The last time we seen Brian, when was it? August 27th at the Mary Piglet. The last time we heard anything about them on August 27th for sure. Yesterday, we sort of debunked another picture that supposedly had taken place on August 28th.
Yeah, and we have to discredit the eyewitness at Bullwinkle's up in Yellowstone at 11:30, where they said they saw Brian sitting in the bar. That one can't be true either. So yeah, this is tough. Everywhere we turn, somebody wants to give something, and it could be they're trying to do it out of a good nature, but sometimes it just backfires.
So far, we got about 500 votes, and 92% of people say no. So thank you guys. And if other channels are propagating it as if it's truth, please do me a favor and just say no to fake news. Just say no to fake news. That's all. Say no to fake news. Okay, back to the thing that Avery was sending me. She sent it to me, and so I'm going to just share my screen and put that on the screen. She was sending me the arrest warrant. She said, read item number 2. So here's the arrest warrant. We'll go through it. In the United States District Court, the District of Wyoming, the United States versus Brian Laundrie, motion for detention hearing. The United States moves for pretrial detention. Okay, this isn't an arrest warrant. This is a motion for I guess what they were doing in order to get an arrest warrant. Eligibility of case. This case is eligible for a detention order, which means they can arrest him. That's what detention orders. For detention order, because serious risk the defendant will flee, which has happened. Serious risk of obstruction of justice, which is possibly also happening. And then the reason for detention, the court shall detain the defendant because there are no conditions of release which reasonably assure the defendant's appearance as required and safety of any other person. And so the case I think you're making, Avery, there is saying that they're alluding to the fact that this is an unsafe person.
And this is the 22nd, so this is the right date where the warrant is executed.
Yeah, so this is what they file, and they file this in the district court to the grand jury for the grand jury to then issue, or the judge to issue the warrant. This was the motion for the warrant for detention.
So
that's why
anytime after this that they run into him, they can grab him, and without question, he goes right to jail. Do not pass go.
Yep. C. Titten says, Tyler, please let it go. Don't let the turkeys put you down. I'm not. It doesn't get me down as much as it hurts me to think that there are so many people who've been susceptible to it. And I think if someone like me isn't doing a good job of coming out and outright speaking against things that are total falsehoods, then more people become susceptible to it. So just from my perspective, like, it's very important that somebody's coming out and speaking against things that we know to be fake news, propagating clickbait to get views on YouTube. And if somebody put it out there, especially if you think they're a smart person and they put it out there and tried to make the case that it was real, I'm just telling you right now, they have a double motive on what they're doing. I don't even know who it was that put it out there. I told Gavis, then when I emailed him about it today, I said, I have no idea who did it. I am sure another YouTuber put out based on the volume of emails I've received today.
I think it could have been just an honest mistake on his part, but that's fine.
I hope so. I really do hope so. Jenna says there's an amended warrant. There was an error on the first one. I think the USC code. Very interesting.
Oh, I'm not a lawyer. I don't dive into these documents. Sorry.
Yeah, it's like, well, I'll read it, but I don't know what 18 USC 3142 E and F is without looking it up, you know. And I really don't think a lot of probably paralegals or whoever write this, and then the lawyer goes back and doubles down on it. So I sort of think that's what's happening. So that was sort of like the thing that Avery sent. So it's interesting that had you read that motion for detention hearing before, Gavas?
No, never even seen it before. I honestly have no interest. That's lawyer stuff that I just honestly doesn't get my data mind going. I look
that little nugget in there that she's pointing out, though, I found to be worthwhile. That in the midst of all of that, they're saying this person could be a harm for others. So
yeah, there's a whole bunch of different things in there, right? There's some sealed documents in there. There's all kinds of things that could open up the whole other bird's nest, and I've already got enough rabbit holes to go chase things in.
They did a request for sure for sealing the documents, which I found to be, you know, the right move, but an interesting.
I'd hope they would press something so that the lawyer Bertolino might come back and try to negotiate a lesser charge or something, right? But with what's on the table right now, it's pointless to negotiate that down to what? Shoplifting? Like, it's just silly.
I don't know. There's so much going on here. Especially if he's involved in the other two, Kylan and Crystal. There's no what do you negotiate 3 life sentences down to 2? Like, I don't.
Well, that could be his opportunity, is to make a deal on the first one with immunity on the other 2. But since there's no charge on the Gabby case, he can't bargain with anything. That's where I'm trying to go with it. And Stephen, if you're watching, take my advice. Just turn him in now.
WB says, Dad took Junior up north. I did think houseboat, but now I think up north. Family is nomadic. Dad lived in many different places in upstate New York. Yep. That's also very near Canada.
Yeah, I honestly have probably close to 40 different locations connected to real estate between the Laundries and the Bertolinos and family. And I still haven't heard from Chan yet, so kind of worried about him. But the reason that I think he would have gone up to New York, first of all, is Bertolino has to have that exact story so he can create some sort of a defense or have unfettered access to Brian so that he can get everything documented, itemized, every single angle that he can try to create doubt. And he can't do that through a phone call from wherever. He's got to be right there. So he could have he might have come up to New York for 2 or 3 days, because that can all get done in 2 or 3 days, and then after that make his exit.
Liz says there's even more stuff's going to continue to come out that is going to be placed in Brian at the camp where Gabby's body was found. I would say they have all that information. It's just not released to us.
Yeah, there's some things that he could potentially say or do about that area to try, like the lawyer, to try to get him off. But yeah, I think there's going to be quite a bit of evidence.
What would you do if you saw Brian Laundrie?
Me?
Yeah.
I'd pin him down to the ground until the police got there, and he might accidentally get a little bruised in the process.
I wouldn't let him go. I wouldn't let him get out of my sight. I'll tell you that much right now. I don't know exactly how I would accomplish that, but I'm telling you, I would not let him. I would not let him out of my sight. Lita, thank you so much for the super chat. You say, what about the surveillance photo you showed earlier today on the 28th of Brian and Gabby? Would Brian still have made it Northport by the first? So if that's them, which I pretty much feel like that wasn't them, there's a chance it was them in that photo. If that's them, it still gives him time to make it to Northport. He wasn't in Illinois to the 31st. And if I really wanted to, I could make it to Jackson Hole, Wyoming. I'll just type it in right now. Jackson Hole, Wyoming to Benton, Illinois. I'm pretty sure you can bust that out in a day. That's a 21-hour drive. So he made it in 2 days.
My group pretty much killed this today as well. We did all kinds of different things, trying to calculate the shadow and calculate his height and the hat he was wearing. It's not a mask. And until finally what we basically said is that until we see a clearer picture, we can't put this in the timeline. It's just got to be debunked.
Yeah, but it brings to light the question, though, that's being asked, like, what day would he have had to have leave? He either left the 30th, he either left the 29th or the 30th, because he was in Illinois on the 31st, and it's a 21-hour drive. So that kind of answers that question.
Yeah, we had about 6 things to basically prove that it couldn't have been Brian.
Alicia makes a great point. I couldn't agree with you more. Come on, FBI. Give us a press conference. Somebody emailed me and was like, why would you be doing that? You shouldn't be saying stuff like that, Tyler, because we should be wanting them to find him, not spoil their case in court. I'm like, well, maybe my curiosity's got the best of me, but at this point, we don't know where Brian's at, and any information we have, my opinion, helps us find him more. Patty, how are you?
Hi, I'll be right there. Tell them I'm coming. Okay, she's come. Grandma Patty, you're on. Oh my, Grandma Patty, you're on. Oh goodness. Oh wow. Just a minute. What's going on? Oh goodness. I'm sorry. I'm here.
Oh
okay,
my gosh, Patty.
What happened? Oh wow. Okay. All right, he's here. Oh goodness. What are you doing here? I'm sorry. Say you're sorry. Sorry, Mr. Gavis and Pastor. It's my bedtime and I was listening into grown-ups. Oh, goodness. You go night-night now. Guys, I am, oh, goodness. I'm so sorry about that, guys. I am so sorry. How are you tonight?
Patty, you're going to go viral on the internet.
I'm just trying to be lighthearted. I'm trying to go lighthearted tonight. Okay.
Well, it worked. You did a great job.
Yes. Well, yeah. Yes, I'm a puppeteer.
I found that out.
That was one of my puppets. And he sneaked in here somehow, trying to listen to grown-up stuff.
What is that puppet thinking?
Well, guys, I have twins, and one of them has a business for, it's a kids' entertainment center. And his brother, his wife, and her dad both run it. I do the puppet shows. But if Brian Laundrie went in there and said, I hear you're hiring, they'd say, okay, yes, we are. Here's an application. So I just can't believe they don't have a clue about this.
Yeah, I know. I went to dinner. I took my little cousin and his girlfriend to dinner tonight, and I asked them a little bit about this case. They had no idea about any of it.
Right. How old are they, though?
18.
Okay. Well, my sons are 40. And I know they get alerts on their phones because everybody does. When the autopsy came in, I'm sure everybody got an alert. Yeah. But they didn't click on it. They don't have the interest. But this is my question tonight. Do you think that, I don't know if anybody's asked this or not, just curious, I just thought of it when you asked Gavis what would he do if he saw him? Do you think he's a threat to the public?
I do, absolutely.
That document I just
wow.
read said he was. And when
Oh, I didn't hear that. I'm sorry.
and when I heard the interview from Cindy Sue, who was the one who found Kylan and Crystal's body, she made it sound like she thought Brian was a threat to the public as well.
Oh, okay. It's they don't mention that though, do they? I mean, to the public.
No.
They say there's a reward, but be careful. They don't say be careful, not don't approach him or nothing like that.
Yep. I thought
Wow.
that I thought part of the reason they haven't gave him a murder charge because they don't want to scare the public, the ones who may not be up to speed on this case, thinking that they're the murderer out on the loose.
Right. Right. And my other question is about the debit card.
Yeah.
I just read that today. We know there's all kind of fake news out there, but I read that his lawyer was the one who revealed that. Is that true? I mean, how did we find out he used her debit card?
The FBI released that information in the warrant. That's how.
But I mean, how did they know he used it?
I know from the gas station I went to, they came there and they got all of the footage from their security cameras.
So, and they positively ID'd it. Okay, so his lawyer just backed him up. But you know, the stuff to me that the lawyer is saying, coming out during the press conference and always having something to say, it's almost like he knows he's alive.
That's the way he's making it sound, which raises some suspicion on why they would be out searching in the Carlton Reserve for him if they know he's alive somewhere else.
Mm-hmm. Okay, gentlemen, thank you. Love you. God bless.
Love you, Patty. Thanks for calling in. Artemis says we need a Patty puppet emoji. That could come if we get, I think if we get 6 or 7 more people to join the Feller fam today, we'll get another emoji. Kim says that she saw a non-private Twitter post from Bertolino's wife that he and his daughter were in Florida on the 28th. That post has now been put to private mode or deleted or whatever.
Yeah, I think it was the 30th.
It wasn't the 28th.
Oh, it was the 30th.
Were they there on business or were they there just doing some friendship stuff?
I'd sure like to know.
So we don't know.
Because Brian arrives into back to Florida at what 10:28 in the morning on the 1st, right? So interesting that they're both there around the same time when.
Watch that clip of Patty go viral. Like, that was awesome. We've never quite had something like that happen. That was awesome.
Maureen Weaver, you really have a problem with me. We should bring up Maureen's everything she said, the last 30 things. Or just ban her.
Nicole, how are you?
I'm okay. I'm feeling really upset due to like what we found out the other day of how Gabby passed away.
Yeah.
But I had I was in some other groups and they said the reason that they do not put the warrant out for his arrest for this, for like the murder, is because in Florida they have so much time to bring it to court, bring it to justice and everything. And if they don't bring it back in time, if they don't bring it in time, it will just get thrown out, basically.
Right. And thank you, Nicole, for calling in. Appreciate your thoughts and insight on that. Gavs, that's something we talked about before, right? Like the trial date situation. Like part of the reason why they're not bringing the case is because of how long, like the fair and speedy trial rule based on what state it took place and all that. Zarp says, if Brian's found dead in the swamp, can you be certain that the FBI will be turning up the heat on the parents to find anything to charge them with? I don't think we can be certain on that. Are you saying you can be certain? You're making a statement. I could see them definitely trying to figure out if the parents are involved and how to implicate them in any way. Tammy, thank you for the super chat. You say Gavin Fish has all the court documents on his site you can download, and he has a more clear picture and says it couldn't be him. Grandma Patty, my stomach hurts from laughing. You're too cute for words. That's funny.
Awesome. I'm going to stay away from court documents. I don't know anything about them. Somebody else can do that.
I mean, I could read them and get the basic gist.
All right. Do it.
Hey, thank our moderators. Jen's doing such a great job today moderating, and just give her a big thank you. Let her know you appreciate her and serving our channel that way. Grandma Pam says it doesn't start until they're apprehended. So I didn't know that. Doesn't start until they're apprehended. Okay. That makes sense. Will the Petitos sue the Laundries in a civil case? I think they're going to, I don't think they will, but maybe eventually if they continue to walk this path out and not much is done, possibly, but at this point, I think they want to go into a grieving process. And I've learned that people who choose to be the victims in situations are never able actually to overcome their situation. And that's true in everything. Like if you've made yourself become a victim of what you've been a part of instead of growing from and being strong in it, you're never able to get over it. And when I think about the Petito and Schmidt family, they feel like to me a group of people who just want to have closure. And so they're working hard to overcome what it is that they've been through.
I think they got a lot of help from Dr. Phil too. They said the time that they were able to spend in that house was amazing. And hopefully that helped them heal. But I think they're going to come out swinging. I think they're getting pretty angry right about now. So we'll see. I think they're allowed to feel a little anger at this point.
Tim McDaniel says, how would Tyler know? I have no idea what you're talking about, Tim. And in fact, I saw some of the comments you were making in the chat the other day. And if you keep up making some inappropriate antagonizing chats, I'm just going to have the mods block you permanently. Tammy says, yeah, Jen, you're amazing along with all the other mods in the chat room. Go Feller Fam United. We stand.
Thanks for the support, Starla. You're absolutely right, potentially.
Carson says, it doesn't hurt to get a big judgment. It's true.
I'm pretty sure they'd rather have their daughter.
Yeah, there's
and
nothing
and some beautiful grandkids coming down the pipe.
Absolutely. Yeah, I think big time that's one of the things they're going to be hoping for. And I want you guys to be able to call in tonight like we have been doing. But if you guys call in, please be prepared. Have your YouTube muted. Have an intelligible conversation ready to go. I almost feel like sometimes we need to time limit people because they end up going on rants about things that are irrelevant to what we're trying to talk about. And then I try to change the subject or push back on the subject. And then people are like, why would you do that? You're so disrespectful to them. I'm like, well, what they're saying, I'm not saying what they're saying is not important. I'm just saying what we're talking about is a different subject. And so I didn't want to throw that in the mix. I want to stay true to staying focused on what we're talking about. And so I want you guys to be able to join, but if you join, please be prepared to join and then be quick with what you're saying as well. Okay. No cursing, have your YouTube muted. You guys should know the routine if you've been on this channel. If not, if it's your first time here, thanks for joining us. If you haven't done so already, hit the like button on the video, hit subscribe if you haven't subscribed already. Mike, how are you?
Hey, Tyler and Gavis, how are you guys?
I'm doing all right.
I just had some things weighing on my mind about when they was out west and he left Gabby in the motel. How many days was that for? Was it like 6?
17th through the 23rd.
Okay. Well, it just makes me think that, if he was able to fly back to Florida to empty out that storage locker, and they were having problems, why didn't he? I mean, I just got the instinct that why shouldn't he just stayed in Florida and called the relationship, I'm done, you know what I'm saying? And went their own separate ways. Because Gabby had enough money to make it back to, she was from New York, correct?
I know, Mike, but I think sometimes relationships, especially relationships that have red flags in them, like they're so complex, it's not as easy as that. And so I think what you're going off of is sort of the thing that Cassie had a statement a little bit. Cassie's made the blow up they had or whatever, and then he came home after that. But I don't think either of them were ready to leave the relationship.
Oh, okay. Yeah. I just, I don't think that he would be able to survive out there in the swamps with, 10, 12-foot alligators and pythons, 20 feet long and stuff. I think that was just to throw people off their heels, so to speak.
Very possible.
That's just my theory. But I mean, if I was in a toxic relationship, I would have just said, hey, I think we should part ways and maybe see other people. This ain't gonna work out, and there may have been a different outcome of the situation, so to speak.
Right.
That's
Yep.
all go ahead.
Thanks, Mike, for calling in today.
Thanks, Tyler.
Alicia says, I pray that he's found alive and that he is somewhere repenting, honestly, and coming to terms with what he did and turns himself in. That's a prayer I have. Like, Lord, reveal his true nature to himself. Give him a heart, Father, a conviction, and a heart to want to do what's right in this moment. Then she says, thanks, Jen. Thanks, Tyler. Thanks, Gavis. Thank you, Gavis.
You're welcome.
You need to change your driver's license to Gavis now.
No. Heartburn medication? Really?
It's heartburn. We got a different name for heartburn medication here, I'm pretty sure.
Well, no, there's a brand name called Gaviscon. It's like Diavol or whatever. But yeah, I was looking around trying to think of a gaming name for something, and Gaviscon was taken, so I went, oh, all right, Gaviscon.
Pretty good name, in my opinion.
Gav seems to work.
Elizabeth, how are you? Clark, the Doberman, you're on.
Hey guys, how's it going?
Doing well.
Hey, I wanted to go back to your poll of, do you think that he's in the Carlton Reserve there?
Uh-huh.
I think most of us, like the poll showed, don't believe that he's actually in there, or maybe was never ever in there. I think a lot can be grasped by how his parents are acting, and they don't seem to be in the least bit worried. So I don't think they feel like the authorities are actually on his heels, or that he's passed away. Do you think that the authorities are continuing to search in there so that the media and everything else keeps their attention there to kind of throw the parents and the lawyer off while they're looking somewhere else on following up other leads? That way the attention's not on where they actually are looking for him, so he's not tipped off, and they're
No, I think the whole reason that they're searching there is that those cadaver dogs hit on something in that pond in front of the car. And when the cadaver dogs hit, it's human flesh. It's not a dead bird or a dead crocodile.
Only human flesh.
So they have to search that. They would be totally incompetent not to search there if they have recovered.
Well, yeah, there'd be legal repercussions if they didn't. But to continue to search there after a month, it seems kind of a waste of time almost. But if they're doing it to make the family and everybody believe, because the parents aren't really looking like they're worried. So if they think that the authorities are still only searching there instead of, let's just say for hypothetically the Appalachian Trail or something where they know he really is at, then they're going to be looking calm like they are. But
what do you make of that? The parents acting calm.
I think that it just shows that they know he's alive and that they're under the belief that the authorities really aren't that close to where he's really at, because they know where he's at, I'm sure. And it just shows that they're not worried about either of those two things. I would think they'd be freaking out more, especially if they thought he was passed away. I know me being a father, I'd be out there day and night till I couldn't walk anymore searching for my kid, you know.
Yeah. And you'd probably find him within 2 or 3 days.
Exactly.
No matter where he was.
Yep. I would not stop. I'd walk till I couldn't move anymore.
Yeah. Just like Cindy Sue Hunter, when she found the girls, took her 5 hours.
What did she say? I'm going to go until I can't go anymore, till I run out of gas, till my body can't physically do it, or till it gets so dark I can't see. Yeah. And that was a volunteer. That's a friend of the dad. That wasn't even the dad. You know what I mean?
Not even family. Yeah. Well, blood family. Speaking of blood family, one more thing, if I may. I know, Gavis, that you're really looking into this lawyer and all that.
Yep.
I tried searching up pictures of him and Googling him and all this, and I can only find one picture of the guy. He seems really hidden away.
He's quite elusive.
I did actually find another picture that showed the right side of his face instead of the left. Mm-hmm. And he's got a really weird fold in his ear that makes his ear pointy, just like Brian's. Do you think this could be a distant relative, like a second or third cousin, a great uncle?
No,
anything like that?
Not a chance. Well,
just a family friend.
A 1% chance, but I doubt it. No, they grew up in the same area in New York. I think they just somehow made a connection somehow.
Yeah, I mean, I'm just trying to go off what you guys with. Is it possible, plausible? I didn't think that was very plausible, but just thinking outside the box, you know, maybe because the ear is very distinct, just like Brian's. It's got that pointy ear with a fold in it. So
I haven't seen that picture. If you want to jump in our Discord and throw it up, and we'll.
Yeah, I'll definitely look for it again. It's the only one I could find from the right side of his face. His left ear looks normal, but the right one has that weird crease with the pointy ear from the crease, just like Brian has that distinctive ear. So I was like, man, could it be a distant relative maybe? And that's why he's more willing to kind of break the law here and help a fugitive. I don't know. I was just thinking outside the box, but yeah, thanks guys. I'll let you get to the callers here.
Artemis says that picture's in there, Gav. So thank you, Clark, for calling in. Lacey, thank you for becoming a YouTube member. You joined Joshua, Kathy, Lovely, Venetia, Heidi, Ewa, and Eleni, who all became members of the Feller fam today. And Ali Neal upgraded. And I think part of the reason they upgraded, maybe not exclusively, maybe part of the reason they upgraded is because I'm scheduling a live call, just a private call with anybody who is a producer level or higher soon. And so if you guys are a producer level or higher and you're on this call, please go comment in our membership portion to let me know when you're available to do that. I know it's going to be hard. There's too many of us to try to figure out when we could all do it, but if we can try to get a time together when we can be on that call together, that would be wonderful. Diane, how are you?
I'm doing really well, guys. How are you?
We're doing well. We're happy to see you.
Thank you. I have something interesting about Stephen Bertolino.
Oh, good.
When the Laundries went to New York and went to his office, the FBI followed them. And I was watching a news show today, and this retired gentleman who was talking about the forensics and stuff, he brought that up and he says, well, you know, they didn't go into the office next door, which is Jose Baez. That's Casey Anthony's attorney. So if Casey Anthony's attorney, I mean, easily these guys could have a go-between door. You know, they may not be partners, but they could have a side door, a back door where the Laundries went over and talked to him. And if he was able to defend Casey Anthony,
yep,
then he would be able to defend Brian.
Yep.
So I thought that was quite interesting. Then I may be the one you were talking about. I sent you the picture of the older gentleman and the young man with black hair.
So was that Stephen Bertolino?
No, that is Chris Laundrie's brother and his son, Joe Jr. And if you look at Joe Jr., he looks very much like Brian, but he wears his hair long and it kind of, goes back, and it kind of flips up in the back. And, he looks like they're in some foreign country. He doesn't say what. It's probably Italy or something. But the uncle had Juicer Joe on his shirt. And I found it by looking at the different members of the family who are, have these juice companies. They sell the equipment, they work on the equipment. And there's like 4 of them in the United States. And, but, when I clicked on that one, it brought up the uncle who looks very much like, if you could think of a nice, smiling Chris Laundrie. Yeah, that one. And I just think, if we need to look at that and just kind of, what Brian might look like if he let his hair grow out and cut the, yeah, I was trying to figure that out too. That looks like English to me.
It's definitely English.
Yeah.
Celeb as the scene caused.
Okay. But yeah, that's Uncle Joe and his first cousin. And there was no date on it.
So where did you find that image?
I was looking under the different companies, different juice. What, I've forgotten the name of the company now. Do you remember, Gavis?
No.
It's whatever the juice company is called in Florida, but if you search for it in the United States, it brings up a number of laundries that have their own little I don't know what the word is, like
so if you put a picture into Google, you can search a picture.
Yeah.
And so this is bringing up all the sites that those pictures.
He owns the
juice company
with his brother Christopher and his son Joseph Jr., and they're in a foreign country. So there you go. That's what I brought up.
So.
And then on the right-hand side, there's a lot of stuff, and some of it has already been debunked. But I was following some of that. But I really thought, we need to, because people are making, putting these pictures of Brian with, they make him look like those pictures of Jesus.
Mm-hmm.
And I have to tell you a funny story. Grandma Patty got to be silly, so I get to tell you a real quick one. I took a part-time job when the kids were small, and I was working with a young lady, and we were having break time, and just out of the blue, she said, when I die, I'll know exactly what Jesus looks like so I can go straight to him. And somebody said to her, how will you know what he looks like? And she says, well, we've got a painting on the wall. So I had to chuckle at her.
Not what Jesus looks like. So
yeah, most people don't think of him as it. And the other thing I did want to say is, I don't know if you've noticed in the feed, but a lot of people say Roberta is Jewish.
I've seen that.
Roberta is Roberta Maria Vincini or something like that. And, she was born in New York. You can't find her relatives on Ancestry. You can't see people who aren't deceased.
Right.
It's private unless they're deceased. So of course, I didn't know her mother's maiden name, and their marriage license didn't show any of their parents. So I wasn't able to verify that, other than, she was born in New York. But there's nothing to suggest that she's Jewish. Plus, it wouldn't matter anyhow.
Right.
I don't understand what that has to do with it. But a lot of these pictures that people they're putting in with the long hair and the long beard and sandals and making him look like, these pictures of Jesus. And I think they're trying to go with the Jewish aspect of it, maybe.
Yep.
But he's Italian. He appears to be Italian.
He appears to have an Italian heritage. Again, not that it could be that big of a difference one way or the other. So.
And with his parents not showing, I've forgotten the gentleman's name before me. Was it Adam? Who was talking about the parents not, being, not seeming upset?
Clark.
Clark. You know, they're all so messed up, in my opinion, that they could know he's dead and be glad that it's over.
Yeah.
I mean, really, that, you know, if you were, there's a lot of mental illnesses that are run in families, especially if you're raised in that environment. Like schizophrenia tends to be higher in young people whose parents have schizophrenia.
Yep.
So I don't know. I think they're heartless for one thing, but that's just my opinion. So, but I wanted to bring that up about Jose Baez, and I found it very interesting.
I do too.
That maybe who's going to end up, if they ever find Brian, representing him. So
thank you, Diane, for the good internet sleuthing today. Appreciate your emails too.
You guys have a good night. Okay.
You too. We love Diane. So glad that she's a part of the Feller family, and we're doing all we can do to build a good community here. Thank you guys for doing it. I want to shout out Lovely, who upgraded to the producer level just a minute ago. Thank you for doing that. Tyson, you got to mute YouTube, man.
It's muted. Here you go. It's muted.
Right.
Hey, how's it going?
Going well, man.
Oh, so I just been so disappointed, like a lot of people, I think. Just the case of his father out there laughing, while he's going out there, looking for his son that's supposed to be alive, or, I don't know what your thoughts of that is.
Well, we talked about it a bit, and I got a lot of negative feedback from it, but I just made the statement, like, it's okay to laugh when you're dealing with difficult circumstances.
Right. Everybody. Yeah.
Like, there's a difference between the laugh that, for example, Nicole Schmidt had, which is Gabby's mom, versus the laugh, in my opinion, that was captured by Christopher Laundrie. I got so much negative feedback from that. I think it felt difficult for me to see that, because he's out there searching the Carlton Reserve in difficult weather when it's hot outside, very humid outside, looking for his son. I don't know. For me, it was hard to swallow. And he knows, it's not like he doesn't know there's cameras everywhere trying to get pictures of him too.
Right, exactly. And I do know, like, a lot of people, express their feelings in different ways. And that's where I was trying to take it. Like, maybe he's just, some people get, laugh when they're upset, but I just feel like in this case, there's no laughing in these, in this case. But I don't know what your thoughts are. I watch you all the time. But I just don't know what you think. What do you think, he's alive, or do you think he's in a different country?
I feel like he's alive. I'm not sure about the whereabouts. Like, I'm split down the middle on a couple of different options. Right. I think the wolf farm thing's a viable option. I think living incognito in a third world country not involved with the wolf farms is an option. I think the attorney somehow having a secondary mechanism where they've got him holed up somewhere is a viable option. So I got 3 or 4 different ideas, but I think he's alive based on the statements that the attorney's making and based on the basic demeanor of the parents.
Yeah, me as well. I just, it's crazy. I just hope they come out and say something, at least enough to say, I hope you're alive, or we're worried about you, something. It would just be nice to see that.
When people don't talk, it just leads
guilty.
All the room.
Guilty. Yeah.
How many times does parents have kids that go missing and they go make press conferences and do whatever they can? You know what I mean?
Exactly.
Like, this is just one of those situations.
Yeah, he went out there and looked for him, but, and that's where I come with the, is he alive thing? Are they in the dog today's news? Yeah. I'm just, is he dead? Is he deceased?
Yep.
I don't know. But
thanks, Tyson, for calling in.
Thank you so much.
Huda says, I believe the parents and attorney should be arrested. They lied to the FBI. Avery
that they can-
upgraded. Jennifer upgraded. Thank you guys for upgrading your Feller Fan membership. It means a lot.
I'm hoping they can catch him in doing something to aid and abet him.
Yep. Me too. Me too.
Maybe that crack in his armor today is, the lash out at Dog and at Marsh or John Walsh. So maybe we're getting to him, guys. Maybe.
Jen, how are you?
Hey guys, how are you?
Doing well. It feels good to hear from you. It's been a couple days.
I know, you know what? I had to take a break from this.
Yeah, I'm sure.
About 5 days. We were on a break. I'm sorry. Can we talk timeline for a second?
Sure. You're the timeline expert.
I don't know about that, but in light of, what's been reported about now strangulation, I saw a video today with a couple that are in a van and they went out to the location, and just seeing how really rugged the location is, I just have questions about what your thoughts are around the 27th and the 28th of August. So
this has been a big sticking point for me the past couple of days. So I've been thinking about this a lot.
Yeah. So I'm curious to hear, because this is what we do know. We know somebody was in the van.
Yep.
When
the
they drove
red,
by,
white, and
right?
Bethune.
We know when they were last seen together. Yep. And then we know when he was seen alone. So about 48 hours in between. But what are your thoughts around what happened in that 48 hours? Because I think about the terrain. Can he walk all the way in that rugged terrain? There's wildlife, i.e. bears, out there. And it got really cold those 2 days. Yep. So what are you thinking? What happened?
Do you want me to go?
Sure. And then I'll go if I have other thoughts.
Okay. So on the 27th, when the red, white, and Bethune van passes, if you look really closely on the left-hand side, you can see a shadow that goes up and darts back to the left. I think that was Brian out scoping out potentially a kill site. The van door closes. I think Gabby's inside the van. And the two books, or the book and the gun, or whatever you want to call it, behind the back left tire, I think that was part of their setup to go across the river and camp across the river. Now, the getting to Coulter Bay is not that hard. It's about a 5-hour and 19-minute hike if you do the whole thing hiking. So that's absolutely doable to get to the showers at Coulter Bay and be at the ride from Miranda Baker on the 28th at 5:30 or 6:30. Yeah, it's 5:30. She drops him off at 6:09. Norma picks him up, and then they go back to the entrance of the Spread Creek dispersed camping site. So until we get the exact time of that Stan phone call,
right,
we don't know. But everything there all matches up, and then that means Brian basically jumps in the van and hightails it back to Florida.
So I don't know if you saw like what that terrain looks like on the ground.
Yeah, I saw the whole video.
Yeah, so watching these people walk through, it would be hard to probably do at night, right? And then again, wildlife, and it got into the low 30s that night. So it's just my only question is, like, I'm not saying it's impossible at all, but I don't think it's as easy.
But
either. You know what I mean?
But the red, white, and Bethune passed them at like 6 o'clock, 6:30. So they still had hours to set up a camp across the river, make the fire ring that you see in that video. So
yeah, and I'm just
a couple hours to set up seems pretty easy to me.
It's totally, it would be, I'm just thinking, and maybe this is just me because she was definitely in the van and moving, but it'd be hard to convince me to get into a little tent at 30 degrees outside.
Yeah, that's what I was gonna say. Like, at what temperature do people quit camping outside?
And that's just me. I spent most of my life in California, so I'm probably windy about it.
We actually pulled all the weather reports, like the high and low, basically to understand the body farm and the potential decomposition. So yeah, it was pretty chilly, but at the same time, that's kind of what they did. And if Brian wanted to do what he wanted to do there, then that's what he has to do if he can't lift her, right? So I don't know.
Yeah. Tyler, do you have any different thoughts around that? I mean, I don't know. I don't know what the answer is. We don't know. But just any additional thoughts?
You know, somebody had sent me something today that I'm looking into still, so I don't have, it's not a fact, but somebody said that there was a confirmed sighting of Brian in Jackson Hole on the 28th, and there's like some evidence to prove that. And so I'm waiting on the evidence to prove that, which would be really interesting then again, right? Because then how did he get to Coulter Bay? Because I don't think he could have hiked that many miles. Like, because we know
And
where
there
he
is a possibility he got in a car with somebody. I mean,
that just didn't. That's the only way it would make sense. Like, did he hitchhike again, and that person is like off grid and doesn't know what's happening?
If you Google map it, if you
Yeah.
Google map it, it says it's a 5-hour and 15-minute hike.
So are you thinking, Gavis, he did this during the day on the 28th? So they camped
No.
overnight. He just stayed in the
No.
camp, or do you think he did this in the dark?
I think he did this at night on the 27th when the moon got above the mountain crests and turned into an animal. That scared Gabby. She fumbled around in the dark, sent the Stan text, just as her last resort, right? She can't call 911. You have to put yourself in her shoes at that very moment. She can't call and dial 911 because the operator's going to give away the talking, right? So that's just what I envision. And I mean, I could be completely wrong, but that's kind of how I feel things went down. She saw the moon came up and he turned into a terrible human being, and she knew she had only minutes probably to defend herself.
Well, it sounds like he was always a terrible human being. So I don't know if he turned into it, but something definitely set him off at that point. Yeah. So I don't know. I do feel like she had to be on location. It seems highly unlikely he'd be able to carry weight to where she was, but that's just my opinion.
Yeah, and so then from there, it's just a short hike back to the Coulter Bay. Like, he probably tried to wash off in the river, couldn't get everything off, went to the showers, got everything else off of himself, and then jumped in the car with Miranda Baker, who said he smelled fine. He was clean. He was wearing hiking boots. So
why not just jump in the van?
Because that's the hard part to explain. Maybe he needed an alibi. Maybe he was going to try to pawn this off on a grizzly attack or something. I don't know.
Yeah, I think that's the question mark for me. One, I differ in just saying I don't think he necessarily hiked it. It's not impossible, but probable to me is why wouldn't he go back to the van, or did he catch a ride? But then he'd have to have cleaned up first.
But then you also have to try to look at when Norma Jean dropped him off at the Spread Creek.
Hang on,
campsite.
I just want to clarify things for some people who are not as up to speed as us, because now we're talking in deep expert knowledge of this.
Sorry.
So we know he hitchhiked back from Coulter Bay. So I have it up on the map. We know that on the 29th, he hitchhiked back from Coulter Bay. Eventually, it took 2 routes to get him there, but we know he hitchhiked back from Coulter Bay to this little red mark, which was where the van was parked. What we're addressing now is from the 27th and 28th. How did he get to Coulter Bay from where the van was at? That's the discussion that's happening. We know what happened on the 29th and after. So I just wanted to clarify that for people who were making comments.
I didn't mean to get so deep, and I'll let you.
No. We want to.
Yeah, I just saw that video and I went, I think it's just, not saying he couldn't hike it, but if you did it at night or when it was pretty dark and as rugged as it is and the wildlife out there, anything's possible. But
it says a 5-mile hike. So theoretically, he could have done it on the 28th or on the 29th because it was in the evening.
Yeah, he could have done it during the day, right?
Or early morning. He could have been walking at 5 o'clock in the morning, got there and whatever.
Yeah.
This is hard to think about, but let's say if Brian was guilty, if he is guilty of a homicide, what's the time lapse between when he leaves the body and goes to Coulter Bay? Does he sit with it for a while?
that could be even more disturbing, right?
That is the question, because there is still a fairly large gap if it's only going to take you 5 hours to get there. And we know when he comes back. So
It's a 16-mile hike that takes 5 hours and 23 minutes, according to Google.
yeah.
What temperature was it during the day? Do you remember?
70, around 70, and then low 30s. The 28th, they got down a little cooler, I think around 32, 33 degrees. But they were at 70, which is probably pretty warm during the day there, considering the height, how far up they are.
Like, the initial assumption was like he was so mad about what happened at the Mary Piglet, it came back and it immediately happened. But as more information came out about the body, where it was at, what was around it, that diminished some as far as the immediacy of what took place. Like, meaning instead of doing it immediately, he waited several hours or even the next day, possibly. I told that to Gabby the other day. Hey, it could have been the 28th.
It definitely could have been the 28th. I mean, which almost would make a little bit more sense that she'd go over there during the day, but then it seems pretty, because there was if you're watching the footage, there's a campsite before, a true campsite compared to where they parked, but a campsite before you got to them. And so it seems pretty open, but yet I think where they found her remains, that it was kind of underneath trees. So I mean, it's possible it was done, because there's nothing else on the other side of that, but it looks like wilderness. So it's possible he could have done it during the day. But okay, well, I guess we'll just keep seeing what happens, and hopefully I hope that he does the right thing, that they're just trying to get things in order so he can turn himself in. And
So you think he's alive? Do you think he's in hiding? Like, safe hiding?
I do. When that caller came on last night, I think it was last night, it just made sense to me that it's a strong possibility that with how controlled this is from a family and the lawyer perspective, that they're going to control him until, but I don't know what they're waiting on. I think that's like, okay, so at what point because at this point they could say it was, if it was him, that it wasn't intentional, he didn't plan it, I mean, who knows, but I'm just surprised that he hasn't come forward at this point. It feels like now's a good time. It feels like they probably would have gotten enough in order, but and then there's a piece of me that thinks that maybe he is gone. I hope not.
It's a smaller piece for me. It fluctuates, depends on what you're hearing in the news today. Like today, when they came out at first with the confirmed cadaver dogs, and you're like, oh, like there's a chance that all of us have built all of these situations out and none of them are actually true. And it was more at face value than what we were saying. And he died in the Carlton Reserve. So that's a thought I had today when the cadaver dogs were out there. I'm like, man, maybe we've made something out of this and it really is more face value than what we think.
Yeah, I hope that's not the case, because I think the family deserves some answers and not forensic answers, real. I mean, it may not be the truth, it's his truth or whatever story he's going to tell, but they deserve that, I think.
If he's guilty, they deserve that moment in the courtroom where they get to say whatever they want to him.
Yeah. I agree. I hope this comes to an end soon. It is interesting that they brought the dogs in. It's interesting that they keep going back there. It's been a month. What are the chances he's alive in there? It just, for me, I don't know the area exactly, but from what I've seen, it just feels unlikely. And so that's why I do believe he's like held up someplace, but I don't know why they keep going back there. That's out of curiosity. At first I thought it was because maybe he had put something in the water, evidence, but then you figure at this point, because they have the divers at first, they would have kind of worked that all out, and dogs is a whole different thing. But I will let you guys go. I'm sure more people are waiting, but it was great chatting with you. And
if you have any updated timelines and stuff you've worked on, I'd love to see it. Feel free to email it.
I haven't. I pulled it down. I'm going to work on it again. I like I said, took a break, needed it, and but you guys are doing a great job. Thank you so much for doing this. I hope we find the Mohab, the person that
Kylan and Crystal. Yeah, me too.
Kylan and Chris. Yeah.
Jen,
I hope we find that
can
too.
I interject for 1 second?
Sure.
Jen? Yeah, just if you want, I have a almost 4-hour long video where I go through the timeline in depth over on Twitch. Just go over there and spend time going through that.
Okay, sounds good.
Thanks, Jen.
Guys. All right, bye.
Patricia Douglas, thank you so much for your super chat. She may have been dead either in the van or to move the van. Someone might find her. Joe Laundrie listed on LinkedIn as yacht broker juicer company. Thank you, Patricia. Flying Fox, thank you for becoming a Feller fam member. Appreciate the support. Means a whole lot. You joined a great group of people today. Lacey, Joshua, Kathy, Lovely SH, Venetia, Heidi, Hua, and Eleni, who all joined the Feller fam. And then Allie, Neil, Lovely, Jennifer, and Avery, who all upgraded to be the producer level. Michael, thank you so much for the super sticker. Peter, who's I believe Peter's a NYPD, retired NYPD, says, Gavis, there's a PI out there in Moab working pro bono on the double murder, trying to find proof if Brian was in Moab on the 13th and 14th. And I sent somebody a message today. I said, I hope I can have a conversation with this PI, because don't you think that'd be cool if we can get him on the channel?
I have reached out so many times to Sean Paul, and I didn't know about this guy. So yeah, if you want to,
I have his information on an email. I can send it to you.
Yeah, well, send it to me. I mean,
I don't know. I mean, I'll send you what I got. I read an article about him today because I was trying to figure all of that out.
Didn't the town actually put some money together to hire this PI?
So the sister, Sean Paul's sister, reached out to him, and then he said he would do it for free.
I tried to FaceTime call him. I've sent him multiple messages. I don't know. Because my heart breaks for him. Like that poor guy sitting in Swanee Park every day from 10 till 12. And he's got family elsewhere.
I know.
Just breaks my heart. Absolutely breaks my heart.
Patty says, how odd, Diane mentioning Jose Baez. Today I researched the Casey Anthony thing because I was stunned she was found not guilty. And what if? I know, Patty, that's what we're all thinking. What if this is one of those situations? I sent my own self a super sticker. If you look at it, it's of the coffee that says tired, so I can get some Starbucks tomorrow. I like the Star drink. I don't know if you've had it, but it's really good. If you guys have a Starbucks near you. Jonathan says, quick question, as you're drinking Starbucks or something right now. Quick question. What is in this for the lawyer? Isn't this career suicide? Well, Jonathan, thank you so much for the super chat and for the support. The lawyer has been with this family. It's been confirmed. He said he's been their family lawyer for 20 years. So initially he's just doing it for the family, but no press is bad press. And he's going to have a docket full of potential clients for the rest of his life. And I assume if one of us reached out to him right now, then he's going to say he's too busy, can't take on any more cases. And I assume there's a lot of people reaching out to him. And so his name's out there.
Yeah, my Discord was trying to get me to call him today.
Yeah. Jamie says, I hope I'm on the jury. That'd be interesting, wouldn't it, Jamie, if you ended up on the jury? You're saying, Tyler, what is your email address so I can send you info? My email address is press@tylerfeller.com. And it's up there on the screen. And it's just it's been just floating up there. Just floats up there. Maybe the lawyer is the biological father. I don't think so. It will depend largely on the jury. If this case is based on a huge amount of circumstantial evidence thus far, as was the Casey Anthony case. Woodster, how are you? Thanks for joining.
Hey, can you hear me?
We can hear you.
All right. So I actually have a couple questions here. They've probably both been asked, but I'm just curious, why do you think Gabby's killer didn't hide her body farther away than he did from a populated area or a road?
Great question.
Well, those two van people that came out with their video today, it's like he said on the way out there, he's like, this is a rugged area. Like it's as hard to get to. And I think Brian just assumed that would be good enough. He's kind of lazy and he's pretty average at everything. So why wouldn't he just leave her body in a place that's not super well hidden or buried?
Good point. Yeah. All right. Second question. This one's a little bit more curious. Other than discovering Brian's location, if you both could pick just one thing to uncover about the case, what would it be?
I would want to know complete phone records. Does that count?
Sure. That'll work.
If I had complete phone records, I would learn a lot of information.
I would want to know if he's responsible for any more murders.
All right. Those are my questions. Thank you.
What question would you ask? Uncover.
I'm not really sure, I guess. There's a lot of questions still.
Yeah, you're right about that. Thanks for calling in today.
No problem. Thank you.
Yeah, I have a feeling that there might be more than just these three. Well, the three, I think.
Janet says, well, what did Brian do with the tarp that was on top of the van? Was it a tarp or was it the tent? And the way that the stepfather made it sound was like the tent blew away. That would have been there, the campsite.
Who knows? He could have taken it with him after he left the body and dumped it on his hike on the way up to Coulter.
Carly, thanks for calling in. How are you?
I'm good. How are you guys?
Doing well.
All right. Well, I've actually been paying attention this time, and I've even taken notes, so I'm prepared for this.
Okay, good.
I want to start with one of the questions from the last caller, like why was Gabby found where she was at? Like, how did he get her there? I can 99% guarantee he got her there because that's where he killed her at. He didn't bring her there after the fact. I watched that video earlier, and the terrain is that's where it happened at. This is purely speculation, by the way, before I say anything else. This is all purely speculation on my part. But I think that's where he killed her.
I do too, personally.
Oh, absolutely.
I do as well.
Yeah, because, I mean, look at him. There's no way he was able to, manually strangle her and then bring her there. He did all of that in one place. I also think that, okay, before I even go further with this, the day at the diner, that was the 27th, correct?
Yes.
Okay. I think that when he was in an uproar that day, that's when Gabby found out about, and again, speculation, about the Moab thing with the couple. I think that he did that, and I think the 27th is when she found out about it because he was really upset, and it might have come out, and I think that's actually why he killed her. It's because she probably was really upset and was like, I'm going to go to the police. And he was like, no, you're not. That's what I think happened. Speculation again.
I mean, it's a viable option. What do you think, Gavis?
I have other reasons for that, but hers is plausible.
Yeah, about the possibility of it. I mean, it's a possibility.
I also wanted to touch on the 30 degrees at night thing. Again, I think he planned this in a way. So I don't think he camped there, but as somebody who spent the better part of 8 years homeless in Washington State, you can camp in 30-degree weather. That's not impossible. I checked. I mean, I had to do it, so I lived, obviously.
Obviously, I'm here, so I made it through.
Let's see, what else did I take notes on? I think part of the reason that the parents are so, what's the word I'm looking for? Just kind of blank is because they either know that he's safe or they know that he's dead. Either way, they are just as blank as they are because they're like, whatever.
Aren't they acting more like he's safe, though?
Yeah, I mean, but like they know, and that's why they're so nonchalant. That's the word I'm looking for. Nonchalant.
Yeah, I agree.
Great insight today, Carly. Proud of you. Proud of you for making it out of what you've been through. Proud of you for caring so much about this case. We believe in you. Thank you for calling in today.
Have a good one, guys.
Maria says, hey, just wanted to say they found the remains of the bones. It's why it took so long for the autopsy. They needed a specialist on bone remains. Thank you for the super chat, Maria. There was some flesh there, right?
That's why I went back and looked at the temperatures for every one of those days. So I actually have it handy because that's what I was just looking at. So on the 27th, it was high of 63, 41. 28th was high of 65, 35 for the low. 29th was 68, 42. 30th was 77, 40. The 31st was 77, 44 degrees. On the 1st, it was 81 and 43. 74, 38. And on the 3rd, 71, 39. 4th, 71, 33. So basically goes through that, about the same temperature roughly. And so basically looking at those body farm videos, when it's colder, you get less activity. So I have no clue. I don't have the evidence of the autopsy. I didn't see inside the body, outside the body, around the body, any of the 3 things that you need to do to determine that. So until we get the full autopsy report and not Brent Blue's version of cause and manner, we don't have much to go on.
Yeah. And I'd like to know the toxicology too, because that would answer some questions potentially about what else may have been happening or not.
Yeah, exactly. And how much the body had decomposed also in that
They
environment.
needed an entomologist, right? And they also needed a forensic anthropologist.
Right.
Was the entomologist studying animals and nature?
Bug larvae and how much it hatches. So generally the bug life cycle is about 2 weeks. So they can also determine if it's an additional 2 weeks from the first batch. So that's why the coroner came out with 3 to 4 weeks, because there must have been probably 2 cycles of fly larvae on the corpse. It's gross and it's horrible to talk about, but.
Thank you, Whiskey to Dawn. Random thought. What if the family collectively has some cult type activities? You never know. I've alluded to that many times too, because I'm not going to say they didn't. I'm not going to say they did. I have very strict views about some of this stuff. It's not very popular, even amongst other believers that I'm friends with. So I've alluded to that many times. Jackie, thank you for becoming a YouTube member. You joined a great group of people. And also, Karen, I noticed a few minutes ago, you upgraded. Thank you for doing that. It means a lot. Rebecca, your life on the show that has no name. Were you able to check out Mike Signorelli's stuff?
Yes, I was. I started watching one of the videos and probably check out some more. So thanks for that.
He does a great job.
Yeah, so I have a question, and it may be that I'm remembering this wrong, but it may be that this is just a detail. I'm just curious to what you two think. So at one point we were hearing that Brian had gone home from Utah during that period in August because he was going to clean out Gabby's belongings out of Brian's parents' house and put them into a storage unit. And then later the lawyer came along and he said he went home to clean out the storage unit and close it. And I feel like that is two very different things, and that paints two very different scenarios. Like if Brian is cleaning out Gabby's house, Gabby's things from the parents' house to get them out of the parents' stuff, that to me shows a completely different mindset than cleaning out a storage unit just to close it. Were you remembering it that way too, and then it flipped?
Yeah.
Or is that?
Yeah. But I don't know why we were remembering it the other way the first time around. You know what I mean? And it would be easy for us to figure out if he went there and closed the storage unit or not. The first time around, it was all speculation based off of a document from Gabby's uncle that we found. So that's why people were saying that. So it wasn't like we didn't have anything solid. So far, the stuff the attorney said, although it feels like he's forced to say it, so far the stuff the attorney said has been in line and it feels like truth. Some of it's uncovered, but I feel like he's told us the truth. So I don't know. I know what you're getting at, but I feel like Stephen Bertolino told us the truth about why he went down there, at least on that portion of it.
Okay, yeah, because I've been wondering, like, what was the source of why did we think it was the one way? So if it was on sort of shaky ground at the beginning, then maybe the source was just too inconclusive and people interpreted it the wrong way. So that makes sense.
Yeah.
Yeah, that was all I had.
That's what I was thinking. Rebecca, thank you for joining.
Yeah, thank you.
Gavis, let's take a second and clap for Kat, who sent the $50 super sticker. I watched that super sticker. It was awesome. Thank you so much, Kat, for supporting the channel in that way. It means a whole lot. That was flipped, that story on the storage locker. But what do you make of that, Gavis?
I still think it's a weak excuse to come back to Florida for 6 days. You could clean out a storage locker in an hour. 2 tops. It doesn't take 6 days.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, what was he doing the other days? And I feel bad for her, even no matter what. I feel bad for her having to be in a hotel room for 6 days by herself, you know?
And Chris Laundrie can cut the lawn. I'm sure it couldn't have been that hard to get something out of the locker. He could have asked James to come over and help him. Could have asked Cassie to come over and help him. I'm not sure why Bunny Fufu needs to fly all the way back.
Diane, are you there?
Yes. Can you hear me?
How are you?
I'm good. I had watched a different program. It's been a few weeks back, but they actually had somebody who went out to the campsite where the body was found shortly after they opened it to the public.
Yep.
And so, you know, it was a lot less water at the time, so it would have been much easier to cross. Not that it wasn't rough terrain. And also where the body was, the lady said it had to be at least 10 degrees cooler with the trees there, if that helps in your timeline for how much decomp.
You know, taking the wind chill, taking in the shade if there was some, that's important. Thank you, Diane, for thinking about that.
I think, yeah, give a shout out to Natasha Cooper because she's the one that had that girl on the ground.
Yeah, that's who I'd been following and heard all that. But I saw the other video of that you were referring to today of the other van life people. Yeah. And I was amazed at the difference in the terrain from the two videos.
Yeah.
So.
Yep.
All right. Thank you.
Thank you, Diane, for calling in.
Okay. Bye-bye.
That was a good call. If you guys want to join the call, we pinned the link in the chat section. Feel free to just click it. It should open it up. You can join us. You might have to verify via YouTube or something. You have a YouTube account to be on here. I'm not sure how it works. Is that how it works, Gavis?
Not for me. I can take all that off, like the phone number, email verification. So I just have mine wide open. If you're going to be rude.
I just mean like if people wanted to join the call, they just... What's that process like? Because I don't know what it's like since I log in on my own account.
You click the link and you go in the back room.
That's it?
Yeah.
Okay. That's pretty easy.
It is.
Glinda says, Tyler and Gavis, what would be crazy is what would you do if he called into the stream? I hope he does. I might have to mute Gavis for a minute because he and I have opposite approaches. I might be like, good cop, bad cop. Which one do you guys think is the good cop? Which one do you think is the bad cop? Good cop, bad cop. But I'd love him to call in. I would love to have a conversation with him. I'd love to minister to the whole family, pray with them, counsel them, seek wisdom from the Lord. What would you do?
I would have the FBI on the other line tracing the call and keep them on as long as I possibly could till they have them in handcuffs and I hear, ow, that hurts. And it's over.
Oh my gosh.
You're breaking my arm.
Don says both good cops, wink, wink. Lacey, are you there?
Hi, yeah.
How are you?
I'm fine. How are you?
Can you mute whatever you got going on in the background?
Yes, sir. I had to say, why didn't they ever take Cadave Dogs over to the parents' house and search that attic?
I think the warrant was only for electronic equipment.
Oh. Did they have to have a warrant for the attic?
Probably.
Well, I didn't know, because that's where I think he's at. That's why they stay there, order food, and they're so close to the house.
It's a good assessment to say, why are they staying there? You know,
they're camped out, man. I don't know what else to say.
Yeah, there could be a false wall. There could be a tunnel. Never know.
No, not a tunnel. I think he's just right up in the attic. They have a big enough attic to have a room up there, and he's just watching TV and on the internet and eating mama's food, really. It's the only thing that makes sense because they are so stuck to that house. How come sister doesn't ever go and visit mama? It's weird.
Apparently they don't have any kind of relationship right now.
Well, even before they thought they didn't have a relationship. When did it go bad? Oh, that's right, because he's wanted for credit card. No, it's something more. You know, the sister knows. And you know, if he was my brother, you know, I'd probably be lying too, except for I would be telling him to turn his butt in.
Right.
And that's all there is to it. But they're all acting weird. And for the sister to come out now and act like everything's okay, it's BS. It's weird. Makes no sense. And I'm trying to be nice here because you told me to keep it nice. But we're all so frustrated with this, we can't stand it.
Yeah.
You know, because he needs to come forward. I mean, he's alive and well. I think he's at mama's. And if he's not, then he's with that cousin out of the country. After I saw that, what that lady showed earlier, I went, wow, she's brilliant to track that down and find the cousin and this.
Diane,
and
yeah.
And yeah.
Hear that, Diane? You're brilliant.
She is. She's brilliant. Awesome lady. I love her. And I mean, I join her tube because she really does some serious research and it's impressive. But, you know, getting back to this guy, he's a murderer. He knows it. He called mama. He told them all. And, you know, that's the bottom line. They got him home, went on vacation, and they thought he was clear because the body'd be months before they found her. Well, when they found her quickly, he takes off. And what about on the 17th when the neighbors said back behind their house saw him running? And he's on camera that the FBI have it. Well, if that's the case, they know he was there even on the 17th, up in the attic. And he had to get out of there the second time they came to the house. Think about it.
Good points, Lacey.
Anyway, y'all have a wonderful evening, and I'm going to keep listening, and God bless you guys.
Thank you. That was a good call.
Yeah, it was.
I wanted to show you guys something, and I know I've talked about it. Some of you are new here. I have a book coming out on November 16th. I think you'll love it. If you go to my website, tylerfeller.com, click on Don't Stop Book. If you're interested, it's right there. I'd love to be able to get it in your hands. We also have a merch store. just some don't stop different apparel and different things. And so even if you have a dog, nice little mug. So if you're interested in any of that stuff, you can get that on tylerfeller.com. I really think the book's going to make a good difference in some people's lives. And so if you're interested in how to be resilient through struggles, unmet failures, or not hitting some expectations in your life through a spiritual lens, that'd be a good book for you or someone in your family for the holidays. Whiskey to Dawn again with a super chat. Thank you, Whiskey. You've been so supportive of the call today. It means a lot. You say, what if Chris was taken to the reserve to plan to separate the parents to see if mom or dad would make a call to Brian separately if only one parent was on his side? I think there's some strategery going on there. Is that a word, strategery?
Strategy.
I think there's some strategy going on there because Chris and Roberta have been side by side the whole entire time. In fact, to my knowledge, that's pretty much the only time we've seen them apart, isn't it, Gavis?
I'm sorry, what was that?
It's the only time we saw them apart.
Yeah, ever since, like 30 some days now, trapped in the same house together.
So I think there was, I don't know if it was specifically to see if they would make a phone call to Brian, but I think it was to see if they could get some information out maybe they didn't know before.
Well, there was a lot of things they could have done on that walk too, right? You'll notice the one cop looks a lot like Brian Laundrie.
Yep.
So there was some strategy being done there.
Felt very intentional. I guess yesterday when Christopher went to get gas, they were separated, but it was very quick, like 5-10 minutes. Avery, how are you?
Hi, can you hear me?
Yeah.
So this is just weighing so heavy on my heart. And I know a lot of people are not going to want to hear this. Okay, so regarding the parents, the Laundries, and I'm not talking about people in this chat. I'm just talking about people in general. And I understand everybody speculates about the parents having involvement. But my thing is because this really weighs on my heart. What if they don't know? What if they truly don't know anything and their lives have just been completely torn apart? It really bothers me. I think that the people who are harassing them and throwing things in their yards and beating on their doors, I just think that people could do better. I don't understand why the police isn't stopping that.
I guess a lot of it's happening on public ground. And you're right. We could all be totally mischaracterizing what's happening with the parents, and some information may come out and there might be a whole lot of remorse. If they made a few simple statements, it would clear up everything and nobody would be acting like that. For example, when Cassie went out and had the conversation with the protesters, it resolved a ton of those issues. People quit. Ain't nobody talking about Cassie anymore after she did that.
Like Cassie almost cried twice.
She's still getting death threats. They said today that the FBI is having to intercept their mail because of death threats on the family.
Some of that's a lag, though. There's a thing called a lead indicator and a lag indicator. And some of that stuff is a lag on it. So it's like mail takes 7 to 14 days sometimes, right? And the sheer volume at which Cassie, I'm sure she's still getting some, but the sheer volume that's been approached towards her has definitely decreased. There's not protesters out in the yard anymore,
Right. Well, I just think that maybe when we say our prayers, that we also pray, that if, I guess just to ask, ask God for guidance in that, because heaven forbid that these people are innocent and don't know anything. Their business and everything has just been destroyed. And I just think that we need to pray on that also.
Yeah.
And my dogs are barking, so I'm going to go.
Well, thank you for calling in, Avery. We appreciate your viewpoint.
Okay. Bye.
Bye. Gavis, do you have a pet dog?
No, I don't.
I used to have a wiener dog. His name was Turbo, and my schedule just got too busy to have a dog, and I wish I had a dog sometimes. Loretta, how are you?
I'm doing fine. How are you guys doing this evening?
Doing well. Thank you for calling in.
Great. I just wanted to give you guys a round of applause for everything that you have been doing and how you have put your hearts and minds and spirits into this whole bowl of whatever we've gotten ourselves into.
Mm-hmm.
And you've kept everything so decent and in order. And I thank
Thank you.
for allowing the people to bring themselves into the same ideas that you have, meaning that you have, informed them that we want this to be a safe place and not an evil place,
Yep.
and a clean place and not a place where things can get distorted, or a place where people can get their feelings hurt, because we're already speaking on an issue that's very hard to, manage as it is. But you both have done this in such an elegant way that I just wanted to applaud you and let you know, keep on going, keep
Mm-hmm.
on doing what you're doing. And, let's all just break it together and have one big celebration. And, we're getting closer every day. And that's been in my prayer. But I know that justice is going to be found, justice will be made,
Yep.
and we're going to get our prayers answered. But thank you for putting your hearts, your minds, your spirits, and your souls in here. And for the prayer at the end of the service, sometimes that's, I come here for that. And I come here for the peace and the joy and
Mm-hmm.
the intelligence of the people and getting questions answered. And I just wanted to say thank you.
Thank you,
Just
Loretta,
thank you.
for saying that, and it means a lot to have the appreciation in that way. And really, this community is about you, and it's about the people that are listening and the people that are calling in. And I think the role that God has me playing is a facilitator of it, and He's the one who sent it. I don't know, Loretta, if you know some of the story, but I had some ideas about some intricacies to this case, and I was trying to get on one of the other shows that was going on to share with them my viewpoints on a certain situation. And I got on one of the shows, but I wasn't able to fully articulate what I was saying. So the next day I was trying to get on another show.
Mhm.
And while I was waiting to get on the show, my phone just went off of it, like just went off. And I felt like the Lord
Wow.
whispered in my heart, you do it, you make a show. And I was like, I don't
Mhm.
want to do that, Lord. I can't do that. I had hardly no following on YouTube at the time. And so I texted my friend and I said, and because we had been talking about the case, I said, you want to go on YouTube Live tonight and just talk about this? I said, maybe if we're lucky, we'll have 100 people show up. Maybe if we're lucky. And it was like the first day there was several thousand, second day several thousand. It just kept growing. And what the Lord
Mhm.
was doing was actually building a community of people here that so it's from Him, and it's not really about
Right.
me. It's just about, I always talk about, I say this prayer in my life sometimes. I say, speak, Lord, and I write about it in my book about how to hear God. I
Mhm.
say, speak, Lord, your servant is listening and ready to respond. And when you say
Mhm.
that prayer every day and you hear God speak to you, you have to respond, or I don't think He's going to continue to speak to you. And so for me, I just did it. This case is personal for all of us in 1,000 different ways. And that's why there's so many emotions attached to it. It's personal for me and because I've been in toxic
Yes.
relationships and I relate to it. It's personal for me because when I look at Gabby, I see my cousin Lily, who is adventurous and is so talented and, can do anything with her life that she chooses to. And I want her to be able to do that. And so to see Gabby's life cut short, it's heartbreaking. It becomes personal. It's personal for all of us in many different ways.
Yes.
And
Yes. It is personal for me as well.
it's personal for all of us, right? And so then I find myself just
Mhm.
listening to that little whisper of the Holy Spirit, responding in obedience.
Yes.
And He's the one who built this. And He didn't build it off of me. even though it's my channel. He built it off of you, Loretta, and the people who call in and the people who are invested in this. It's really a family of people who want to find justice for Gabby. And I pray, sometimes I pray in my heart that the Lord would give wisdom to somebody in this group about where Brian is at. Because God, we're trying to, like, I was like, God, we're trying to focus on you so you can give us wisdom. Would you supernaturally download that? And the Bible says he'll tell us remarkable secrets about things not yet known. And if I believe him, I believe in his word. Every single word, every single line, I believe it. And so I just believe God's going to speak to some people and we're going to be able to find justice for Gabby.
Yes, it's for all of us. It's for all of us to be able to detach from some of the heaviness that is weighting us down and to set us free in ways that we weren't even thinking. And we'll turn around and realize that that prayer wasn't really for me, but then, oh, yeah, it was for me.
Yeah.
And that's why I'm here. And now I am free.
Yeah.
So there are bits and pieces that we can combine, because when I first started listening, I was in a very bad place and I didn't have any direction.
Yeah.
And then in just getting myself involved in another portion of creativity and things that were going on that I had to utilize my time in, I found that, oh, I need to go over here instead of laying in the bed and throwing the covers over my head. I need to go over there with them and start writing notes and get my timeline together. And maybe I can offer something that's very constructive to those guys over there and help them. If I can help someone along my way, I know that my living will not be in vain.
Absolutely. You do the thing you're supposed to do. I'll do the thing I'm supposed to do, and it makes something beautiful. Thank you, Loretta, for calling in.
Oh, and thank you for having me. I appreciate it. To God be glory for the things that he has done and for the things that he will continue to do in all of our lives.
Fearfully Kate said, well, what happened to your co-host? Well, the guy who started the show with me, his name's Evan. He's a full-time student. He works a full-time job, and he has a full-time relationship. He was listening last night, was making comments in the thread, and anytime I've asked him to, he's joined. He has an open invitation to join anytime he wants, but I don't want to bog him down because he's a busy guy. He's a really busy guy, and he's a hard worker. Avery, thank you for the super chat. You say, I'm addicted to this show. One, a pastor who's quite handsome. I assume she's talking about me, Gavis, since I'm the pastor out of the two of us. 2, Christian-based. 3, true crime. Can it get any better? Can you call a pastor handsome? A lot of old ladies in my church do, and I love them. I'm not calling you old, but a lot of ladies in my church do. Cynthia says, God's been put on my heart that Brian's in the laundry house. So we'll see. That'd be interesting if that comes to pass. Paul, thanks for calling in. How are you?
I'm good, guys. How are you?
Doing well.
Good. I'm here from Melbourne, Australia. I'm sorry about my video. But anyway, I've got the audio. I was just wanting to know, just in regards to the timeline, when did the Laundries pick up the car from the reserve? Was that before or after they reported him missing?
Before.
Before, right. Because you would think that the police would impound the car before they actually took it back home, wouldn't you?
Yep.
Oh, okay, that was all. And I think he may have passed away, I think. I get a funny feeling he's not with us anymore. But we'll never know, I don't think.
I hope he is, for a variety of reasons.
Yeah, I think we all do. And my sort of prayers go out to the Petito's family, because it must be absolutely, I can't imagine them seeing these pictures of them being pulled up time and time and time again. It must be just absolutely distressing. I couldn't imagine if one of my family members, their image being continuously sort of broadcast. It'd be just horrendous, I reckon. But anyway, that's all I've got to say. So
thank you for calling in.
Okay, bless you both. Good cop, bad cop. Hey, see ya.
See ya.
I think
Christine
it's a
and
positive thing that it's actually brought so much awareness to domestic violence and some mental health issues. So
yes.
I think it's been well needed and maybe might even change some of the policing tactics that are done around the entire world. So I think it's big.
I just want to give a shout out to Christine and Alicia. You guys both supported me by purchasing a Don't Stop book. So thank you so much for doing that. It means a lot to have your support in that way. Wendy, you're live.
Hi. Okay, I would like to know what you think about this. When Gabby was at the domestic violence scene, Gabby was in the officer's car. She was on the phone with someone. I thought I heard him say, the officer say, "I'll let you get back with your mom." And I thought maybe she called her mom. But now I'm thinking, because of him going back to Florida and everything, I'm thinking that maybe maybe Gabby called his mom, which my daughter-in-law has me, called me mom. So maybe she called his mom because he was off his medication and because that had happened, and so that his family could get involved with getting him back there to go to the doctor.
Right. Well, we don't know if he's on medication, but I did say that yesterday. Like,
But
potential.
it did sound like when the officer asked him, which it kind of cut it off and didn't let you hear his whole answer, but it's kind of said it's something about it makes him feel funny. So like he was supposed to be taking it, but it makes him feel funny. So he wasn't taking it.
So yeah, and there's several people who think that, and I said that's like he could have a psychiatrist back home that he has to see in order to get those prescriptions filled, because a lot of times you have to actually make appointments to get those things.
Right.
We're not saying he has anything for all the people who are going to make comment later, but what you're saying, Wendy, right on the money in a lot of people's way of viewing this case.
And then that could take a few days take a few days to get him a flight, and then take a few days after he got there to get the appointment.
Yeah, I have a very close friend of mine's a psychiatrist, and it's like 9 months to 18 months out to even get an appointment. So it's not, it would have had to have been pre-scheduled. Unless it was an emergency.
But if he's already got an appointment and that the family called, if it was like an emergency to see him,
yeah,
that
if
he
it's an
already
emergency,
has one he sees.
Yeah, if it's an emergency he has a relationship with, they would have got him in for sure. You're right about that.
Yeah. So I think that would kind of fit with that timeline and give him reason, because, like everybody says, going back to move her stuff out or in would not have financially been beneficial. So it wouldn't make no sense. But him needing help after they had just been involved with police because of his being off medications maybe would make more sense for him to take that trip back.
Right. Yep. You're right on the money, Wendy.
Okay, well, you guys do a good job. Listen to you every night, so keep on.
Thank you.
Okay, good night.
I just wanted to mention also, if somebody's not familiar with this case yet, but they won't release that female ranger's body cam. And if we had that information, that might be crucial, because that will show exactly who she talked to, what she said, everything.
Yeah. Yeah. You're right. I'm having people email me, ask about alternative ways to give. You can give at tylerfellow.com/give. In fact, 100% of the money that's actually given, which takes a while to actually get, it goes into my nonprofit. I've given a big portion of it to the Gabby Family Foundation, but the rest of it goes into my nonprofit. And you can learn about the work my nonprofit does on my website if you're interested. It's a 501c3, so if you do tax deductible, you can do that. And if you need a receipt and all that for your taxes, then we have an accountant who will handle all that. But you can give at tylerfellow.com/give, or you can give on Cash App. That's a great way to give, or through PayPal. Just if you guys want to support the channel in that way. Ali M, how are you?
You're muted.
Sorry, I'm working on it. I was taking a drink of water. I think this cold's coming back for round 2.
Oh no! I hope it's not.
So I
COVID.
didn't want to be coughing and you put me in and blow everybody's eardrums. I got 4 pages of notes today. And then a notebook full of stuff over there. So I want to hit on the last call, and I avoided this subject last night, but I guess I'll say something tonight. I have a genetic diagnosed mental health condition, which I am on multiple medications for. And I know what it's like to go without medications. And like you said, you have to have an appointment to get them. When I was out in North Dakota taking care of my grandmother, I was not able to see my psychiatrist in person, and I was denied my medications. So I was forced to go through withdrawal. That can play a huge part in mental health.
Yeah.
Huge. Because if I go off them for a week, one part's anxiety. If I go more than 2 days without anxiety medication, I start getting withdrawal symptoms, and I feel nervous nonstop. So I just wanted to say, in my opinion, as a mental health patient, Wendy had a very good point there. So I know somebody earlier mentioned that they thought it might have been just bones. I think that a manual strangulation would not have been easy to do on just bones, so that she had to have a fair amount of, there had to have been a fair. Yeah. I don't want to be the one that makes your eyeballs roll out of your head. Oh, I'm sorry. Dead air.
You're doing good. We love it when you call in.
I wanted to say Avery's awesome. A positive perspective is good to hear.
Yes.
Just like Patty's blurb and some humor. We all need it, I think, at this point.
Yes.
One question that I have that I really haven't seen anywhere anybody doing any digging on. I mean, if I could go, I would. But have we heard of any police presence on the Appalachian Trail yet? Like, I haven't seen any media, any pictures, anything. And then when I got up this morning, and the first thing I saw was they're back at the reserve. I'm going, there are way better places to be putting them resources to look for them.
From what I understand about the reserve search, it's the Northport Police who's handling that under the direction of the FBI. And then I've heard several reports, especially from local media outlets, on the trail. It's not like they're searching the trail, but several times they've responded, and immediately upon hearing that there was a Brian sighting or whatever. So they're not searching in the sense they have in the Carlton Reserve, but instead they're depending on tips and targeted
right
intelligence.
Well, it's thousands of miles literally from Canada all the way to the ocean down south. So
right.
There's no way to cover that whole thing.
Right.
So that was my big question on my head today. I've on the end of things where Brian Laundrie's parents, the presence outside their house, they have called law enforcement and they have responded several times. So they aren't ignoring the fact that there are people outside of there. And if things go wrong and they call in, they are responding quite quickly from what I've noticed in other reports.
I was saying the thing about mowing their lawn, which it's surprising how many people that upset. I thought if I did, like, let's say I was in a situation where I was in that area and I went and did that, I'm certain they would have just called the 911 on me.
Right.
Yeah.
I think that's all I have today. I've been so far down the hole of trying to find out names of Nicole's family today, and I really don't have much to report on there. It's like literally one. It took me, I don't even know how long to find her mother's maiden name. Just
I know. But I've been saying that, like, those are the big clue pieces that I think are really important.
Mm-hmm. So I'm down that rabbit hole right now. So it left me kind of with bare notes for the rest of the things today.
Well, I'm proud of the work you're doing, and I know this is important to you, and even just you being vulnerable and sharing about your life, Allie, it means a lot. And
I am the Alicia that bought your book too.
Oh, you are? Yay. I can't wait for you to read it. Thank you for doing that. I think you're going to love it. And November 16th, I might try to send it out a bit earlier. When my publisher tells me I can send them out, I'm going to send them out. But I think you're going to love it. I think it's going to really help you get clear about God's destiny and calling over your life. So I can't wait for you to read it. And what I wanted to say about how you just opened up, like when we're vulnerable, people connect to it. And you did it in a way where you weren't like trying to get accolade. You were just stating something and moving past it. You weren't trying to get something from it. And when you do it like that, the way that you did it today, it sets other people free. And so I just want to say thank you, Allie, for doing that. It meant a lot. Yeah. Thank you for calling in.
You guys have a great night.
You too. Trekker T, thank you for becoming a producer. You upgraded. I made a statement earlier. Producers, investors, dreamers in the Feller fam. I made a statement in our membership. I want to do a live little gathering with you guys, and I need to know when you're available to do that. Also, shout out to Kevin and Lara, who gave me some super chats in the past couple of minutes. Thank you so much for doing that. And then Sarah Ward and David, they went to tylerfeller.com/give and gave on that. So thank you so much for doing that. It really means a lot. Hey, Gavis, we have Bumblebee calling in.
How's it going, guys?
Great.
Okay,
when I
cool.
think of Bumblebee, I think of this little girl from my church I always called Bumblebee. And then it was a man's voice and it took me off guard.
Yeah, it happens sometimes. I have a hoarse throat. Right?
You're not Bumblebee.
Cool. So I got some stats for you. I mean, someone was talking about maybe easing up pressure on the parents or being nice to them. But I'm not saying be mean to them. It's more that I have some personal experience with abuse, and I've had to live in women's shelters before. My mom was abused, and there's some things I picked up in terms of numbers over time, and I'm happy to email these numbers out to you if you want to talk about it to the audience. But people, especially women who were strangulated, there's always a track record beforehand, and you can look it up on FBI stats, you can look it up in crime stats, that they were hit or abused before. So it's very hard to believe that anyone they lived with before didn't see this already. And when I was in women's shelter, this was just like all the time. And it was to the point I was just like, whoa, is this, coincidence? But it wasn't. If you go look in the stats online, like type in Google, what are the odds of strangulation and abuse or in the death of somebody? It's very, very high. It's actually, in some cases, like the majority. There's a stat that says, and this goes to the murders of the couple, the two ladies, is a woman who has suffered a non-fatal strangulation with her intimate partner is 750% more likely to be killed by the same person with a gun. That's on Google. There's some studies on that, with a gun. Not just by strangulation, but these guys, and I've seen it, like whether it's my dad or other guys that abuse the women at the women's shelters. A lot of them own guns, and he has. I'm not saying guns are a problem in general, but this guy Brian does have a gun in his room since he was younger. There's photos online of his room. I don't know if they're fully confirmed, but there was New York Post on it, right? So I'm linking it a little bit together here, that there's a track record of the family must have seen him abuse her. They are probably pretty well aware that there was something bad going on, and it's unfortunate, but a lot of women who are abused do get someone puts their hands on their neck, and the odds of them dying by that is super high. It's just and one thing that the reason why I'm watching your channel actually that really stuck out to me is you talked really well about how the police officers were talking to him, and he seemed to like get them on their good side, you know. So I seen this, like I seen it firsthand, is like whether it's my dad or other people, these guys were extremely good talkers to police, to anybody that was saying, hey, don't do that, right? They just kind of like, you know, it's just crazy. They put you at ease, and they're good at this, and you just don't believe it that they're doing it, right?
Mm-hmm.
Like, I don't know what, I have a few other points to make, but I'm going to pause for a moment in case you have anything to say.
No, I agree. That's what Dahmer did. That's what all those guys do, right? You don't see that violent anger side of them, but they can really, you know, have charisma, if that's the right word. So yeah, it's common.
They're very good at playing the victim. And when I think about it, again, like just my run-ins with these types of guys, because like, I mean, we would hear about from the other women at the shelter, right? Is that they're not strong people. They're often cowards. They're good at playing the victim. They're good at playing possum. That's why I have trouble feeling like he's out in the wild. You know what I mean? Like, how is this guy surviving the wild if he's a possum, if he's more of the coward side, right? And then that's why I feel like peaceful protest around his family to put pressure on them is actually a good thing. I do think they've seen something before. They're working with the lawyer to keep mum. It's in their best interest. And I have a point about that. I don't know where I read it, but certain states, you can get the jury tainted and then the case thrown out, right? So the more dramatic and lame like you are to people in the news, and the more media attention you get, you can try to taint the case on purpose. And what we've seen is that between the family and the lawyer, they've been making incorrect statements, right? And then the lawyer has to correct it. You know, that whole lawn mowing incident, he could have just said to the people asking him if he feels bad, hey, I feel bad, but he didn't say that, right? So it's they're almost like they're making themselves look more guilty, you know? And I'm not saying on purpose, but if they do that and all the jury believes 100% he did it before the court case starts, then they could claim it's a tainted jury, you know? So, like,
I think you're saying something that a lot of people are afraid of. Like, I hope that's not happening.
Yeah, I mean, that would be really sneaky, right? I got something for Gavis on the organic farms thing. So I got interested in that. I was looking up these organic farms. So check this out. If you go look in like Facebook, user reviews, any type of like, hey, I've been to the farm myself. Mm-hmm. A lot of them say when you go in there, there's one, they kind of like tell you don't go on your phone, don't do anything digital. They work you to the bone. And some people feel like it's actually like you're kind of trapped in a prison. So once you go into one of these farms and you pay a fee up front, funny enough, they work you to the bone and no one really talks to each other and you feel like malnutritioned, you know, worn out. He could be in one of these and no one's even actually paying attention. They're disconnected. I mean, he himself is being worked to the bone and he's just disconnected as well. And so I was thinking, if you got people in the Discord, and just like a lot of people helping out, have they tried emailing these farms, you know, giving photos saying, hey, look, you might have accepted this guy in your fold?
Yeah, we've gone even deeper than that. We've got boots on the ground right now as we speak. And we've also tried to reach out to the head office and get a wanted poster out to every single host in the world.
Okay, that's great. Okay, so one last thing.
Because like the news said today on the Insider Edition thing that it played, they were like, Lisa Guerrero was saying like, hey, people in America know about this. It's on every station, but nobody in Mexico is tracking. So
interesting. There's some people in chat saying like, yeah, you know, if something happens, in a relationship, yeah, just to remind everybody, if someone lays hands on you, especially around the neck, is like, get out of there, get support, get help, let people know, and just make your move, because it can escalate and it's just not worth it, right?
Or call Gavis. We'll get boots on the ground with you and we'll help you out. Yeah,
exactly. That's it, that you got to do it, because there's usually something wrong, especially if you see this person's playing victim. And
we actually got an email today from a neighbor that said that she saw Brian Laundrie choking or hitting Gabby on the front lawn at the house at 4343 Wapaso Ave this summer, like previous to the trip.
Oh yeah. And I mean, some people will say, hey, don't always assume it's him. But I'll tell you what, between the sightings, evidence like that, you know, there's another stat I want to tell you is, and you can look this up again. Majority of women who pass away, like, you know, through murder, it's the spouse. It's the spouse. It's someone really close to them, and the stat for that is really, really high. We're talking like majority of the time, it's not a stranger. So I mean, we have every right to have our suspicions, right?
Yeah.
So, anyways, that's what I'm saying. Everyone here, you know, get support if anything happens to you.
Thank you for calling in, Bumblebee.
I still haven't heard from Chan yet. Chan was on a mission in New York to go to all those addresses that I mentioned to go to.
That was a really informative call. I hope he emails me those stats. John, thank you for upgrading your membership. That means a lot. If you're in the investor level, which I think is what you upgraded to, you have access to my Slack channel, which is a great thing to have. I spend a lot of time on there because a lot of my work comes through there. It will automatically add you to some of my channels that you're not supposed to be a part of, and I have to go through and take you out of there because it's just stuff that you don't really want to see. But because it's like sermon prep, like you don't want to know about that. I'm working like somebody that I work with. Desert 444 says, if he's hospitalized for psychological issues, would he be protected by medical privacy laws? I looked into this. No. I know that's a good thought because it's like, oh, let's get him hospitalized, then he can hide out. No, he's not protected. They would let him know. So were you worried about Chan? Is that what you're saying?
Oh, he just said he was going to be a couple hours. I think he left at like noon, and it's 11 hours later.
Interesting. That was a great call from Bumblebee. I really felt like. Gabby, what's been heavy on your heart about this case today?
Nothing. I'm actually excited. I think I'm getting close. I really think I'm on this guy's ass right now. I don't think he's going to get out of this. I think that connection to the other Bertolino that was doing the tours for 5 years in Costa Rica, it'd be the perfect place. No one would know. That place is closed down.
Really?
And it would have been easy if he went out through Freeport. Remember, Gabby stayed at Paradise Island in 2016 for some sort of a trip. She was also at Costa Rica. So there's the way out. Get to Freeport, go down to Paradise Island, maybe go across to Caracas, maybe go the other way, but there's ways to do it. But I think he first had to go to New York and sit with the lawyer for at least 3 days.
What do you make about the boat? People want to know about that. The boats, yacht.
We couldn't really find a connection, and we do have one person that is going down to that Marco Island marina, and we found a hand railing in Gabby's Instagram that's like an inch thick, so he knows what to look for on the front edge of that boat. And I said, go around, stick your nose in anything you want, and try to find that exact handrail in that front of the boat, because that's all we see in the Instagram. On Gabby's Instagram under travel, she has a picture or a video that goes through Marco Bay. So what boat were they on? Because it was not a rental boat, it was something else. So we're looking at that angle as well. Maybe he took that boat and then took that over. So speculation, but we're looking at all angles. I want to catch this kid. I don't care how, but
let's go to Florida. Jennifer says, I worked at a domestic violence shelter for 6 years. The statistic is it takes 7 times for someone to leave their abuser for good. It's heartbreaking. I know. Jennifer, I can't tell you how many meetings I have with people as a pastor, and it's like, please, 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 this is not going to end good. Trucker T says, great authentic content on this channel. I love that you have standards of conduct. Keep it up, guys. Thank you, Trucker T.
Yeah, I had another point to make. Somebody was talking about the Stan text message the other night. So when I was going through Gabby's Instagram today and who she's following, she was following Carly DeMille, Dixie DeMille, a lot of these young, beautiful women. D'Amelio, whatever. And those girls are always putting up TikToks and probably safety measures. You know what? Text Stan if you're in trouble with a jerk or whatever. So I don't know where she got that from. And yeah, her mom doesn't know that code or whatever, but it seems more likely because in that text, she says, please send help, call Stan or whatever it is. I don't see a narcissist like Brian saying, oh, please, or whatever. It was just never in his DNA in any of the other text messages that he posted or any of that stuff. So I just envision poor Gabs in the middle of the night fumbling around in a tent trying to get something out. And the Stan could have been send instead of Stan, like he could have auto-corrected on her. So don't read too much into that. It's until we know more information, we just got to relax on some of the things that people get hung up on.
Great points. Avery sent this super chat too. I didn't realize it. She was saying the FBI website says 99% of times strangling is not premeditated. Does that surprise you? Not. It's a high number. It's a number you like to use.
Well, the FBI's learned their lesson. You don't always say something's 100%, right?
Yeah, but I mean, like, it doesn't surprise me the fact that it'd be premeditated.
It seems like it's a pretty, yeah.
I can't even, like, I don't want to even think about this. It's like, I know we have to because we're trying to find the solution, but it's like, it's hard. Tyler and Gavis, maybe Gabby's friend has information. I don't think Rose is talking much anymore, but it'd be great, wouldn't it, if we could have a conversation with Rose and just ask something general, even if it's general.
Rose is fantastic. She's a wonderful, wonderful, wonderful friend, and I don't think she's just as shocked as all of us. So I don't think we'd get any information or learn anything from that. I'm 100% Team Rose.
Michael, thank you for upgrading your membership. I am too. I think like initially people were thrown off by her, but that's to Huda's point. She's saying exactly like Rose would have information that could help lead us to Brian because she'll know.
No, I think the lawyer is the only one in this situation, or the parents. That's literally, I think, the only two people in the world. Not Cassie, not Rose Davis, just the parents and the lawyer. Once you break it all down, it's actually not that hard.
Very interesting. Well, we've had a great time tonight. I'm going to be on here tomorrow. I'm going to try to be on an hour earlier tomorrow, 7:45 p.m. Central Standard Time. I'm going to try to be on tomorrow for us to be able to have a good conversation. Flying Songbird, thank you for joining the Feller fam. Shout out to you. Thank you, Kelly, Flying Fox, Lacey, Joshua, Kathy, Lovely, SH, Venetia, Heidi, Ewa, and Eleni, all for joining the Feller fam today. And thank you, Allie, Neil, Lovely, Jennifer, Avery, Karen, Trucker T, John, and Michael, all for upgrading your membership level today. That means a lot that you guys did that. And if you're part of the producer level or above, please go answer the question there so I can figure out when would be a good time for all of us to get together. Shout out to Jennifer, who just purchased the Don't Stop book. You joined a couple of other people today that did that as well. Christine and Alicia, thank you guys so much for doing that. Flying Fox from New Zealand says this: the Stan text was on the 30th, along with the Yosemite red herring. That was supposedly confirmed yesterday by Nicole. Check Discord. So we knew it was on the 30th. We don't know for sure if it was Gabby who sent it. We think it's Brian who sent it, and we want a timestamp, right?
Cassie's husband was born in Guatemala on their marriage certificate.
Yes. So yeah, Maria. Cassie's, but it's a close Costa Rica, Guatemala, Central American. But yeah, he's from Guatemala. I want to close this out just in prayer for people that are heaviness on their heart, people who are in relationships that are toxic or domestic violence relationships. So Father, in the mighty name of Jesus, I thank you that there are people listening in earshot of this prayer that need a touch from you right now. And Lord, I just pray that your supernatural peace that your word declares surpasses all understanding would just begin to rest on them. Where there's anxiety, where there's fear, where there's tension, in the mighty name of Jesus, I release your comfort, I release your compassion, and I release your supernatural peace. Peace that surpasses all understanding. And Father, I pray right now for anybody that is listening to this call. Statistics say a lot of people listening to this call are in a toxic relationship, in a situation, Father, contrary to the way you designed us to be in relationships with one another. Instead of a relationship of love, it's a relationship of fear. And right now, Father, I pray you give us courage if we're in a toxic situation, in a domestic violence situation. You give us courage, you give us help, you give us a roadmap out of it, that your Holy Spirit leads us and guides us to a place of safety and refuge. I just pray that over people. And Lord, I pray that as we're on the search collectively for finding justice for Gabby, would you give people in this community supernatural wisdom from heaven about where Brian may be? Would you anoint Gavis, this gift and skill you put inside him? Would you anoint him with your power? Would you anoint people in the Feller fam, people that are watching and listening to this? Would you anoint them with wisdom from heaven, downloads from heaven about where Brian may be, that collectively, Father, we can do something that's going to make a difference for a lot of people through you, Jesus. We'll give you all the glory, Father. All the glory belongs to you. All the honor belongs to you, Father. But would you smile upon us and use us? Would you use us, Father, in that way? I thank you, Jesus, for anybody watching that has any ailment in their body. Your word declares that you're the great physician. And the scripture teaches that it's by your stripes and by your wounds we're healed. And so right now, I just call bodies back into your original design and intent. Everywhere that there's been an encroachment from the enemy, we call it off. And I thank you for supernatural healing coming over bodies now. New lungs, new cells, arthritis disappearing, new sight, deaf ears opening. That's what your word declares you can do, Jesus. So I believe it. Cancer disappearing. I prayed for it myself, and I've seen cancer disappear. I just believe there's cancer disappearing, even as we're on this call tonight. And so I just bless people with your power. If there's anybody who's not in a relationship with you, Jesus, I pray that they find that relationship with you, realizing that you're the one who paid the ultimate sacrifice for us to have a relationship with God. Not religion, not legalism, not a rule book, a relationship with you, the Creator. Help us to find that if we don't have it. In Jesus' name, amen. Amen, amen. Well, thank you guys for watching. Thank you for being a part of the call tonight. And do me a favor, share this stream with somebody who missed it. We'll see you tomorrow at 7:45.